Picture this. I was this close to marrying a company CEO. Like, literally about to peak in life. Rich girlfriend, corner office vibes, the whole package. And that's when the universe decided to yeet me into another world. Thanks. Really appreciate the timing. You know how in all those stories, people transmigrate and wake up as emperors? Princes? At least some rich landlord's idiot son with a silver spoon? Yeah, no. I got assigned to be Zhouyuan, the worst human being in a dirt-poor farming family. Let me paint you a picture of this guy's resume. His parents couldn't have kids for years, so they adopted a daughter, Big Sis Zhouyuan, and a son, Second Bro Daddy, hoping it would bring fertility luck. It worked. Original me was born. And from that moment on, this absolute trash goblin decided he was the only real child and treated his adopted siblings like garbage. Beat them, cursed them, made their lives hell. His dad died in the army. The pension money? All spent on sending this clown to school in the county town. Did he become a grateful scholar? No. He came back acting like he was too good for everyone. Got drunk and shoved his own mother. His little brother, Four Eggs, yeah, that's his name, for EGGS, literally grew up flinching every time original me raised a hand. This guy was actual human garbage, I muttered to myself. Speaking of Four Eggs, the poor kid was right there by my bed when I woke up. Apparently original me got beaten half to death with a club for hitting on some rich guy's woman. The whole village was outside my door going, "Yep, he's dead, good riddance." Then I sat up and said a bad word, and everyone froze like they'd seen a zombie. Four Eggs looked at me like I was a grenade with the pin pulled. When I smiled at him, just a normal human smile, the kid short-circuited. His brain literally blue-screened. I asked him where Mom was. He didn't answer. His eyes went all glazed. I waved my hand in front of his face, and this child immediately ducked, covered his head, and crouched on the ground. The movement was so practiced, so smooth, like he'd done it 10,000 times. I stared at my own hand hanging in the air and wanted to punch original me in the face. Except I am original me now. That's complicated. Anyway, I was starving. Went to the kitchen looking for food. Cold stove, empty pots, not a single grain of rice anywhere. Asked Four Eggs where the food was. It's locked in Mom and Big Sis's room. I don't have a key. Turns out original me used to steal the family's food and sell it for booze. Mom had to literally padlock the grain just so the family wouldn't starve to death. I walked back and forth past that locked cabinet 39 times. But I didn't break it open. Four Eggs visibly relaxed when he realized I wasn't going to smash the lock. The bar is in hell, and I barely cleared it. Fine. I'll drink water. That counts as a meal, right? No, it does not. I was even hungrier after. Then Big Sis came home. She's like 18 or 19, actually pretty, and she looked at me with this expression that was 50%, "Oh good, he's alive," and 50%, "Oh no, he's alive." I flopped on a chair like a dying fish and went, "Big Sis, I'm starving to death here." She completely froze. Because apparently original me never talked to her without being a condescending jerk. Me whining about food like a little brother was so out of character her brain needed a moment to reboot. She went and made me food. Second bro came back too, carrying a bundle of firewood literally bigger than his own body. I ran over and helped him put it down. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head, then just walked away without a word. Then Big Sis brought me dinner. 2 lumps in a chipped bowl. They were black, fist-sized, hard as rocks, cracked on the surface with bits of wild vegetable poking through. Brandon weed balls. I picked one up. It had the weight and density of a weapon. Did Big Sis finally snap and make revenge food shaped like actual poop? I wondered. But I was so hungry I took a bite anyway. Rough, bitter, scratched my throat going down like I was swallowing sandpaper. I put the ball down. Tears in my eyes. Look, I knew being a kept man wasn't exactly dignified. But did the universe really have to send me here as punishment? This isn't transmigration, this is sentencing. But fine. I still had one option left. I can always just give up and die. The second that thought crossed my mind, ding. A cold robotic voice exploded in my head. Detected. Host will to live at critical low. Giving up mentality at maximum. System forcibly binding. My eyes went wide. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. System bro, is that you? Right there in front of my eyeballs, a floating screen popped up like a video game interface. And smack in the middle, text appeared. Detected recyclable resource. Premium, Zhouyuan times 2. I blinked. Looked at the firewood pile. Second bro just hauled back. 2 arm-thick pieces were glowing with a faint yellow highlight like they'd been selected in a crafting menu. It's here. The cheat code has arrived. I slammed the brakes on my excitement, put on a casual smile, and went, "Oh wow, this firewood pile is blocking the doorway. Let me move it." Everyone exchanged confused looks. Since when does this guy do anything useful? I didn't care. I dove at that pile, back facing the door so nobody could see, and touched those 2 pieces of wood. Detected recyclable resource. Premium, Zhouyuan times 2. Recycle? Price. 800 mall coins, 0 hesitation. Yes. Take them. Gone. The wood vanished from my hands. Balance in the top corner. 800. Now what do mall coins do exactly? If they're called mall coins, there should be a mall, right? The screen flickered, and oh, a full-blown shopping interface exploded onto my vision. Bargain bin aesthetic, items crammed everywhere, prices labeled on everything. It looked like one of those knockoff shopping apps your aunt sends you links from. I spotted chocolate. 5 coins. Clicked buy. A piece of chocolate materialized in my hand. Balance, 795. Now I'm a proper transmigrator. I choked back the urge to throw my head back and cackle like a villain, fixed my expression, and sat back down at the table. The firewood pile? Still laying on its side by the door. Untouched. Unmoved. Second bro and big sis exchanged a look of relief. That's the third bro they knew. Lazy, starts things, never finishes them. I glanced at the table. Still just that one bowl with the poop ball I'd bitten once. How come you guys aren't eating? I asked. Nobody answered. But it took me about 2 seconds to figure it out from original me's memories. Poor families eat twice a day. This family had been so thoroughly destroyed by original me that they were down to 1 meal, a thin wild vegetable soup. These brandweed balls were bonus food, made specifically for the injured patient. For me. Meanwhile, 4 eggs was standing nearby with drool literally hanging half a foot from his chin, staring at that bowl like it contained treasure. Want some? Here, take it, I said with a smile. 4 eggs frantically waved both hands, face going white with terror. Because, and this is peak original me behavior, he used to do this exact thing. Offer food, wait for 4 eggs to say yes, then beat him up and mock him for being greedy. Who does that? To a child? Your own brother? I couldn't exactly explain that I'd had a soul transplant, so I switched to plan B. Acting like a jerk for good reasons, I slammed on my mean face and barked. These vegetable balls taste like pig slop. I'm injured. How am I supposed to eat this garbage? Big Sis's head dropped. Her long eyelashes hid the hurt in her eyes. Her hands twisted nervously at her clothes. Then second bro stood up and carefully pulled something from inside his shirt. A little ball of dried grass. He placed it on the table. It was a bird's nest. Inside, 5 tiny green eggs, cherry-sized. For eggs' eyes lit up like Christmas morning. In his short, miserable life, bird eggs ranked as a top 3 culinary experience. Big Sis looked thrilled too. Little bro needs nutrition. The family can barely keep 1 meal going. The vegetable-to-grain ratio in their soup keeps getting worse, and she knows her bran balls aren't enough. These bird eggs mixed into the soup could actually help him heal. My brain clicked. I snatched those eggs and marched toward the kitchen. I'm cooking these myself, I announced. Big Sis nearly had a heart attack. This boy has never cooked a single thing in his life. Those precious eggs were about to be massacred. She jumped up and chased after me. Let me do it. I'll cook them all for you. All 5. I promise. I put on my best scary voice. Stay right there. Don't follow me. I know you're trying to sneak some for yourself. I grabbed a big handful of wild greens from the basket, stomped into the kitchen, and slammed the door shut. Big Sis stood outside with tears in her eyes, mouth opening and closing, unable to say a word. Second bro came over and quietly tugged her sleeve. I'll go back to the mountain tomorrow. There should be more nests in the bamboo grove. For eggs was trembling in the corner. Angry third bro was still terrifying. Meanwhile, behind that closed door, I looked at my palm. 5 bird eggs. Cherry-sized. These wouldn't fill a cavity in my tooth. Time to cheat. 10 mall coins, 10 real chicken eggs. Mix them with the bird eggs and beat them all together. Nobody would ever know. The wild greens. The system identified them as purslane, worth about 5 coins. I kept them. Selling vegetables that Big Sis just watched me carry in would be a little suspicious. washed the porcelain, blanched it, chopped it up, mixed it into the egg batter. The kitchen had basically nothing. A small packet of yellowing coarse salt. Half a tiny bowl of cooking oil. That's it. That's the whole spice rack. Back to the mall. Bought oil, salt, pepper powder. Tried to light the fire with the flint thingy. Failed immediately. Bought a lighter. Modern technology wins again. Oil heated up. Poured in the entire basin of egg mixture. Sizzle. The smell of frying eggs erupted through every crack in that kitchen door. Outside, 3 noses went up simultaneously. It smells so good, for Eggs was swallowing so hard his throat was doing cardio. Big Sis's heart sank though. That cooking oil was her treasure. 2 drops per meal, stretch it over 2 months. From the wall of fragrance hitting her nose, every last drop had just been dumped into that pan. She was pacing in circles, panicking, but too scared of me to open that door. Inside, I had a different problem. The egg pancake turned out great. Tasted pretty good actually. But I had leftover oil, salt, pepper, and a lighter just sitting on the counter. Where do I hide this stuff? Then I remembered, the system panel. Opened it up. Sure enough, used items could still be sold back, just at reduced prices. I checked the chocolate I bought earlier, but never opened. Detected, chocolate. Value, for mall coins. Sell. Wait, I bought it for 5 and can only sell it back for 4? This system is running a pawn shop. 20% gone, just like that. Highway robbery. Digital scalping. But then I noticed a little button in the corner. Pending sale zone. One thought, and everything. The oil, the salt, the pepper, the lighter, the chocolate, vanished from the physical world and reappeared in the storage zone. Counter. 6. It's an inventory system. I cleaned up the kitchen, erased all evidence of my crimes, and walked out. 3 pairs of eyes locked onto me. Then all 3 gazes slowly drifted downward to my hands, where I was holding a basin full of golden fried egg. I slapped that basin of fried eggs on the table and raised an eyebrow. Those bran balls. Whoever wants them, go ahead. I've got this. For Eggs finally believed I wasn't messing with him. The kid sprinted to the kitchen, grabbed 2 bowls, and divided those poop balls into 3 perfectly equal portions with the precision of a diamond cutter. And honestly, watching him eat those things, you'd think it was 5-star cuisine. This child's idea of a wish upon a shooting star was, and I am not exaggerating, unlimited vegetable soup, not even the bran balls. Those were too luxurious for his dreams. He literally didn't dare wish that big. I need a moment. My heart can't take this. But his eyes kept sneaking over to my egg basin. Like a magnet, he couldn't resist. Meanwhile, Big Sis was doing math in her head, and the numbers weren't adding up. 5 cherry-sized bird eggs turned into a full basin of fried egg. She looked at that pan like it had personally insulted physics. Second bro was also squinting at the situation. He doesn't cook much, but even he knew that 5 tiny eggs don't multiply like rabbits. I didn't give them time to investigate. I grabbed a big chunk of egg and dropped it into 4 eggs bowl. The kid froze, looked up at me, face full of, "Is this a trap?" Then I put pieces in Big Sis and Second bro's bowls too. "What are you all staring at? Eat. I'm not a pig. I can't finish this whole basin by myself." Big Sis heard my grumpy tone and immediately ducked her head on reflex. Took a tiny bite. Her eyes went wide. Another tiny bite. Then tears started falling into her bowl. She was eating salty, sweet, eggy tears, and it was the most heartbreaking, delicious thing I'd ever watched. Second bro had this complicated look on his face. The kid had seen some stuff. This was a famine year. People were dying in the streets. Parents were selling their children for a few pounds of grain. He'd been adopted into this family to bring luck, and even after original me treated him like dirt, beat him up, cursed him out daily, this kid just took it. Because he had a family, and that was enough for him. He thought I'd changed after getting whacked on the head. Said my eyes looked clearer. I don't know if that's a compliment or if he's saying original me had stupid-looking eyes. I'll take it either way. For Eggs had 0 philosophical thoughts. He was too busy inhaling food. Stabbed a piece of egg with his chopsticks and went full vacuum cleaner mode, mumbling, show good, with his cheeks packed like a hamster. I tossed another piece into his bowl. His courage was visibly growing by the minute. Then the little interrogator piped up. "Third bro, how did you make so much fried egg from just a few bird eggs?" I shoved food in my mouth and did a tactical cough. I added lots. of wild vegetables. But when Big Sis made bird eggs that one time, there was only a tiny bit. Big Sis probably ate some. But what about that time Mom made egg soup and, are you done? Can food not shut your mouth? For Egg shrank his neck and obediently killed his curiosity. Smart kid. Nosy, but smart. Big Sis and Second Bro watched our little exchange with small smiles. Their garbage third brother might actually be turning into a person. The sun was going down when Mom finally showed up. Poor woman. She'd walked all the way to her parents' house to beg for money. Her own mother treated her like a failure. Your sister married better. Your sister is more filial. Her sister-in-law mocked her. You can't even manage your own household. Don't come crying to us. Luckily, her dad and brothers secretly slipped her 2 coins of silver. And her older brother's wife, who was actually decent, gave her 2 pounds of millet. Mom is only in her early 40s, but looks 60. Life beat her down hard. She stopped outside the gate, dusted herself off, took a deep breath, and walked in. For Egg spotted her first and ran out screaming, Mommy's home. Then Mom saw me and just broke. Covered her mouth, tears everywhere. You're okay, little Zhouyuan. You scared me to death. Thank heavens you woke up. Big Sis rushed over with a cloth to wipe her tears. I walked up and reached for the basket on her shoulder, and I felt her whole body tense. Inside that basket was 2 pounds of millet, mixed with wild vegetables. That's 2 weeks of survival for 5 people. She wasn't worried about giving me the food. She was worried I'd do what original me always did. Take the grain and trade it for booze. But she also knew that if original me wanted something, fighting back only made it uglier. Her brain was already calculating. If he takes the millet, I'll need to go to the mountain first thing tomorrow, gather extra wild plants, stockpile for when we run out completely. I let go of the basket. She blinked. I smiled. Mom, you walked so far, you must be starving. Come inside. I'll cook you something. This woman literally stuck a finger in her ear. She thought she'd misheard. Her son? Asking if she's hungry? Offering to cook? Since when does this boy know what a kitchen is? Then her brain caught up and she went, ah, I see. He doesn't want to cook. He wants the millet. The cooking thing is just a new strategy to get the grain. She sighed and handed over the basket. Why fight it? He'll throw a tantrum and take it anyway. At least this way nobody gets hurt. Take it. Take it all. Whatever. I took the basket, confused. Opened it. Oh, millet. She probably thought I needed ingredients. Nobody come into the kitchen, I announced, and ran off with the goods. Mom let out the deepest sigh I'd ever heard. 4 Eggs and Big Sis guided her inside, 1 on each arm. Then 4 Eggs, the little hype man, chirped up, Big Sis, what do you think third bro will make this time? Again. Mom's head swiveled between 4 Eggs and Big Sis, thoroughly lost. What do they mean, this time? In the kitchen, I stared at my ingredients like a contestant on the world's saddest cooking show. 2 pounds of millet. Half a basket of wild greens. That's it. That's the pantry. Well, millet porridge it is. We'd already eaten, so Mom was the priority. I grabbed 2 handfuls of millet, washed it, threw it in the pot with water, boiled it hard, then dropped to low heat and let it thicken up. Then I went shopping. 3 eggs from the mall, cracked, whisked, poured into the porridge. Beautiful golden egg ribbons swirling through the pot. Something's missing. Brown sugar. 7 coins. Grabbed a big handful and dumped it in. Pulled my oil and seasonings out of the inventory, quick fried some purslane on the side. Done. Chef Gu has left the building. Outside, 4 Eggs was excitedly telling Mom about the fried egg miracle. Mom smiled and nodded along. But inside she was thinking, these poor kids are so starved that splitting 5 tiny bird eggs made them this happy. Lady, if only you knew. Mom, try the porridge I made you. I set the bowl on the table. Mom snapped out of her thoughts and looked down at the steaming bowl. Her son made her porridge. Her son made her porridge. She picked up the bowl with trembling hands like she was holding the Holy Grail. Clutched it so tight she didn't even notice it was scalding hot. Mom. Careful. I snatched the bowl away and grabbed her hands. Checked them frantically. Just a little red. No burns. Good. Here's the thing. In my previous life, I was an orphan. 0 family memories. Nothing. And yeah, I didn't transmigrate into some palace or mansion. But this broke, messy, falling apart family, the love here was real. I could feel it in my bones. Original me had all of this and treated it like trash. You threw away what someone else would BG for. Well, guess what, buddy? I'm here now, and I'm keeping every last bit of it. I'm fine. It's not hot at all, Mom said. But her nose was already turning red and her eyes were getting watery. Your husband, wherever you are, your boy finally grew up. For Eggs sniffed the air like a drug dog. Third bro, that porridge smells amazing. I ignored him. This kid just demolished a mountain of fried egg and half a bowl of vegetable soup, and he's already hungry again? Where does it go? He's built like a chopstick. His nose twitched again. Then he spotted it. Third bro, there's EGG ribbons in the porridge. I saved one bird egg, I said casually. OHHH. For Eggs slapped his fist into his palm. That's why when Big Sis said to save some fried egg for Mom, you said no need. You had a spare egg, a spare egg. You had one egg left. Did this child just imply I only have one? Black lines appeared on my forehead. Are you stupid? 5 eggs, 5 people, 1 each. Basic math. For Eggs was riding too high on his food coma to read the room. He leaned over the porridge bowl, squinting. Third bro, millet is yellow. Bird eggs are yellow. So how come your porridge is gray? It's not gray, you tiny fool. It's red-brown. From the brown sugar. But this kid has never seen sugar in his life, so he didn't know how to describe the color. Then his face lit up with the confidence of a detective solving a murder. He slapped his hand on the table. I know. You burned it. This child looked so proud of his deduction. So smug. Completely unaware that my fist was clenching beside me. Big Sis reached over and pinched For Eggs' ear, yanking him back from the cliff he was tap dancing on. She also privately agreed it was probably burned. You need to stir porridge constantly, or it sticks. And little Zhouyuan had never cooked before, so honestly, not bad for a first try. Mom didn't care if it was burned, raw, or made of sand. Her baby boy cooked for her. First time ever. Before today, she'd given up hope. She thought he was rotten to the core and would never change. Her only prayer was to see him alive and healthy before she died. She lifted the bowl to her lips, took a sip. Her eyes went huge. No bitterness. No burnt taste. Just thick, rich, sweet porridge flooding her mouth. Mom, is it good? Me and For Eggs asked at the exact same time. It's delicious. I've never had porridge this sweet. Mom nodded over and over, her cloudy old eyes suddenly sparkling like a little girl's. For Eggs was suspicious. Burned porridge might smell nice, but it should taste bitter. Mom was clearly just emotional. Third bro could probably serve her boiled tree bark, and she'd call it sweet. Then I caught it. For Eggs was looking at me with pity. This kid was feeling sorry for me, because he thought my cooking was so bad that only a mother's love could make it edible. Oh, absolutely not. Smack. One palm to the back of his head. I've been holding that in all day. I gave him my scariest smile. For Eggs. Tell me, is this porridge sweet? Or not? He'd been smacked into a daze. Heard me asking. Saw my face. Started shaking his head. Realized that was wrong. Started nodding violently. Go get yourself a bowl from the pot. Then tell me if it's sweet. For Eggs zoomed to the kitchen and came back with a full bowl. But before eating, he split some with Big Sis and second bro. As for me, there's still more in the pot. Poor kid's being thoughtful. My heart squeezed. It's sweet. For Eggs screamed. Little Zhouyuan, it really is sweet. Big Sis's big eyes were sparkling. Girls love sweet things, and for a family this poor, sugar was basically a myth. The sweetest thing she'd ever tasted was chewing on sugarcane stalks after harvest. Second bro sipped his porridge quietly, savoring every mouthful. Each sip had egg ribbons in it. That one bird egg sure went a long way. Also, what did little Zhouyuan put in this? How is it so sweet? That night, everyone was full. Actually, truly, completely full. Nobody could remember the last time that happened. A meal this good? That had literally never existed in this household. And the best part wasn't even the food. It was sitting around that table, all 5 of us, laughing and eating together like an actual family. Everyone felt like they were dreaming, terrified that tomorrow morning they'd wake up and it would all be gone. I felt it too. This warm, hazy, almost too good feeling. And somewhere in the quiet of my mind, I wondered, the old me, back in the modern world. Am I dead there? Or did original me's soul swap into my body, and he's walking around in my life right now? If that's the case, well, let's both live well, wherever we are. Next morning I opened my eyes and the first thing I did was peel 4 Eggs' stinky foot off my stomach. Rubbed my swollen eyes. felt the reed mat pattern imprinted on my face like a waffle iron. And I made myself a solemn vow right there. I will have my own bed. With a cotton mattress. Soft. Fluffy. Mine. Except according to original me's memories, cotton doesn't exist in this world. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I dragged myself outside and found Mom already back from foraging with a full basket of purslane. The woman was a machine. The weather situation here was bad. February and March brought a solid month of non-stop rain, floods everywhere. Then from April onward, not a single drop. The ground was cracked dry. Most wild vegetables had shriveled up and died. The only survivor was purslane, that chunky little weed with thick, juicy stems that basically said, drought? Never heard of her. Every poor family in the area was harvesting it like their lives depended on it. Because their lives literally depended on it. Mom was worried. If it doesn't rain soon, the wheat harvest is done for. I was worried about something worse. First floods, then drought. That's the classic setup for a locust plague. But I didn't have a solution yet, so I changed the subject. Where's everyone? Big Sis had gone deep into the mountains with some village girls. The nearby hills were already picked clean, wild vegetables, firewood, all gone. Second bro left at dawn to haul water from the village, well, because the river had dried down to mud. I'll go check out the mountain too, I said, already thinking about that first sale. Second bro's firewood had given me 800 coins. There might be more recyclable goodies up there. The mountain's been stripped bare. What are you even going to find? Mom called after me. Maybe some bird eggs. There's more people up there than birds. You think eggs are just waiting for? I was already gone. Walking through the village, the welcoming committee kicked in immediately. Well. Goo number 3. Pretty tough little body you got there. Yesterday you were foaming at the mouth, and today you're out for a stroll. That was some guy called Two Dogs, weeding in his field. Another dude, Zhouyuan, cut in. Hey, Two Dogs, watch your mouth. That's our future imperial scholar you're talking to. He might chop your head off. Ha 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 ha. The whole field erupted. Yeah, original me's reputation was spectacular. Everyone in this village basically viewed me as the neighborhood clown/menace. I smiled. Big bro Zhouyuan, you're wrong actually. Even a scholar can't just chop people's heads off. Zhouyuan blinked. Old Goo number 3 would have been screaming curses by now. Why was I calm? Why was I smiling? Why did I just politely call him Big Bro? He fanned himself with his straw hat. Spent all that money on school and probably can't even read. You really think you're going to be some big shot? I shrugged. Who knows what the future holds? As long as I keep studying, there's always a chance. Right? Big Bro Zhouyuan, his eye twitched. This was not the reaction he was used to. Original me was a firecracker, one spark and boom. But new me was talking like a reasonable human being, and it was creeping him out. Two Dogs jumped back in from across the field. Chance? With your dumb face? Has your family's ancestral grave even been placed right? You're like a dog barking at the moon. You don't even know how high the sky is, some people laughed. Others pretended not to hear and kept working. Two Dogs was on a roll now. Before you become any kind of scholar, your whole family will have starved to death. Still going. Only your crazy old mother could possibly believe your scholar material. I kept walking. Kept smiling. Waved at people as I passed. Hi. Annie Wong. Tu Mao. You've got grass in your hair. Sure, Sis. That patch on your chest is very round. Oh wait, that's embroidery. Very big. Two Dogs watched me walk by without responding to him. Figured I was too scared to talk back. He snorted, squatted down, and went back to pulling weeds. He happened to be working right by the path. As I passed, he muttered just loud enough for me to hear. Coward. And that was the word that flipped the switch. See, I'd been walking toward him this whole time. Casual. Friendly. Saying hi to everyone. Not a care in the world. One step. I was beside him. I grabbed his hair bun and dragged him like a dead dog and slammed him onto the dirt. Here's the thing. Original me was a selfish pig who always ate first and let his family starve. Upside, he was bigger than most people around here. And ever since the system activated, my body felt noticeably stronger. Maybe the system thought its host was too pathetic and gave me an upgrade out of embarrassment. My knee was on his chest. My left hand was on his throat. The whole thing took about 2 seconds. Two Dogs' brain was still loading. I looked down at him with that same pleasant smile. Wouldn't it be nicer if we just talked like normal people? Why do you have to bring up my family's grave? Do I really look that stupid to you? And my mother, she's crazy now? Every question came with a friendly little slap on his cheek. Pat, 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 still smiling. Every sentence I said came with a slap. Left cheek. Right cheek. Even got him right on the nose bridge, because why not? Then I noticed his face was looking uneven. Left side, red. Right side, normal. My brain went, that's not symmetrical. And I actually adjusted my angle to backhand him twice on the other cheek. I might have mild OCD. This is not the time to unpack that. Two dogs was thrashing around trying to push me off. One solid punch to his nose fixed that. His eyes rolled back. Blood started pouring. Fight officially over. I leaned down real close to his face. Eye to eye. Don't talk about my family. While I'm here, they won't starve. Dropped him. Dusted off my knees. Stood up. Every single jaw in that field was on the ground. See, the old goo number 3? He was the village punching bag. A loudmouth loser everyone made fun of. If I had to describe original me's social status, he was basically a mix between the town drunk and that one guy everyone roasts for entertainment. People would provoke him on purpose because watching him flip out was free comedy. He'd charge at someone, get beaten up, lie on the ground screaming insults. Classic clown behavior. But today, I just smiled through an entire roasting session, casually strolled over, and absolutely demolished a man. Then stood up smiling like nothing happened. The old version pretended to be tough, and everyone laughed. The new version smiles politely, and suddenly everyone is terrified. My eyes swept across the crowd. Every single person turned away and refused to make eye contact. I didn't transmigrate here to be a doormat, I muttered, hands behind my head. I strolled toward the mountain with a spring in my step. Ding! Jesus, I jumped. You'd think I'd be used to the system notification by now, but no, it just ambushes you. Detected recyclable resource. Wild Pinellia times 86, a whole patch of plants lit up on my screen like a treasure map. Little 3-leaf things that looked like tiny taro plants. I pulled one up and waited for the price tag. Nothing. Waited more. Still nothing. Does this system have a cooldown? Is it buffering? Then it hit me. I snapped a twig off a branch and started digging. Few inches down, 2 grayish-brown lumps, about the size of small potatoes. Grabbed them. Detected. Wild Pinellia times 2. Recycle price, 0.5 mall coins. Recycle. Oh, it's the roots that are valuable, not the leaves. Got it. Since other villagers were around, I couldn't go full excavation mode. Bought a tiny gardening shovel from the mall. 12 coins, not ideal, but better than digging with sticks. 2 roots equals half a coin. Not amazing, but there were a lot of these things. I started digging like a gold rush prospector. Goo number 3. What are you digging up poison potatoes for? Those will kill you. I nearly had a cardiac event. Spun around clutching my chest. Andy Wong appeared behind me like a ninja. 0 footstep sounds. Absolute stealth mode. Andy Wong, you can't just appear behind people like that. You trying to murder me with a heart attack. Andy Wong was our next door neighbor. Our relationship wasn't great because, fun fact, original me once pooped on her doorstep when he was a kid. Like, squatted down and left a present right on her threshold. 10 years old. I truly cannot apologize enough for things I technically did. But Auntie Wong was the type to yell at you, fight with you, and then forget about it the next day. Solid neighbor, honestly. She was genuinely worried I was going to eat the Pinellia. These things look like little yams, but they're poisonous. A little bit makes your mouth go numb. Too much, and you're dead. If there was anything edible up here, you think it'd still be growing in patches like this? Everything edible got stripped weeks ago. Fair point, actually. Don't worry, Andy. I know they're toxic. They're medicinal herbs. The pharmacy in town buys them. I'm going to sell these for grain money. She squinted at me. Something was different about this kid. He was talking in complete sentences. Making sense. Using logic. Very suspicious. But she clearly thought the selling herbs for money part was total nonsense. These things grew everywhere. Who'd pay for something you can trip over? She shrugged and wandered off deeper into the forest. Half an hour later, I'd cleaned out the whole patch. 3 or 4 pounds total. System offered 105.5 coins. Quick math. Started with 800, spent 65 on eggs and seasonings yesterday, 12 on the shovel today, earned 105.5 from Pinellia. Balance, 828.5 coins. Money in the account, peace in the heart. I pushed deeper into the forest. Used to love watching those foraging videos online. people finding all kinds of wild mushrooms. Super relaxing content. Maybe I could find some mushrooms for soup. Searched and searched. Not a single mushroom. Not even mushroom residue. The drought had killed everything fungal in this entire mountain. I followed a narrow trail that previous hikers had cut through the trees. Passed a few villagers here and there. Kept walking. The system kept pinging about more Panelia, but I was too lazy to stop. There was definitely better loot deeper in. Before I knew it, the trail was empty. Just me and the trees. Then, cutting through the silence of the forest like a knife, a woman's scream. Help me. Every hair on my body stood straight up. I knew that voice. That was Big Sis. I crouched low and bolted toward Big Sis's voice. She was still screaming, which was actually a good sign. If someone had grabbed her, they would have shut her up by now. This was probably an animal situation. Bear? Maybe she climbed a tree. Wolves? Could be a standoff. Fell into a hunter's trap? My brain was running scenarios at full speed while my legs ran at full speed. I bought a machete from the mall, just in case. Then I saw it. A wild boar. My pupils shrank to pinpoints. This thing was at least 400 pounds. It was ramming its head into a tree like it had a personal vendetta against lumber. The tree was about as wide as a barrel, and it was already tilting. I looked up. Big Sis and another girl named Chun Mei were clinging to a branch barely 6 feet off the ground. Big Sis had one hand death gripping the branch, and the other holding Chun Mei, who was white as a ghost, and about 3 seconds from passing out. Let me explain something about wild boars. There's a saying in the mountains: first pig, second bear, third tiger. Wild boars kill more people than tigers. An adult boar can grow 6 feet long. They have basically known natural predators in the forest. Even tigers avoid them and go for deer instead because boars are just not worth the trouble. Their skin is thick. Their fur is coarse. They've got a layer of fat armor underneath. Defense stats maxed. I wasn't even sure my machete could cut through that. And the tusks. 4 of them. 2 up, 2 down. 1 charge, and those things can open you up like a zipper. My hand was shaking on the knife handle. What sane person picks a fight with an adult wild boar? But that was my big SDS up there. I'm not some righteous hero. I'm not a saint. But I can't just watch my sister die. I needed range. Close combat with this thing was suicide. Cheapest compound bow in the mall. 1,200 coins. I had 700 something. Great. Regular bows were cheaper, but anything strong enough to hurt a boar, I wouldn't have the arm strength to aim properly. I pulled up the screen frantically. The forest floor was lighting up with Panelia markers everywhere, but who has time to dig roots right now? If only the system could do remote collection, I'd sell this stupid pig for 2 coins just to make it disappear. Little Zhouyuan, don't come closer. Big Sis was screaming from the tree. SDS, hold on and don't move. I yelled back, then nearly had a heart attack when she almost fell trying to wave me away. The boar stopped ramming the tree, turned its massive head, looked at me, snorted twice through its ugly snout, wiggled its head like, "Oh, you want some too? Big Sis." Absolute legend. Ripped off her straw shoe and chucked it at the boar's face. It worked. The pig turned back to the tree and resumed its demolition project. Chun Mei finally snapped out of her frozen state and started sobbing. I don't want to die. Goo number 3, you can't beat it. Just run. Tell my mom I saved 16 copper coins. They're under the straw in my bed. Girl is literally leaving a will from a tree branch. This is so bad. I didn't answer. I was speed scrolling through the mall looking for anything cheap enough to kill a 400-pound murder pig. Big Sis saw me getting closer instead of running. She set her jaw and started sliding down the tree trunk. Big Sis, what are you doing? Climb back up. If you don't run right now. I'm jumping down, she said, dead serious. I froze. This girl, original me, treated her like absolute garbage for years. Called her names. Hit her. Told her she was nothing but a freeloader eating his family's food. And right now she was ready to throw herself to a wild boar to save him. Something got in my eye. Definitely wind. Definitely dust. I turned away and wiped my face real quick. Then, Ding discovered recyclable high-quality wild sangwon. My heart exploded with hope. Sangwon. It's a medicinal fungus, same tier as cordyceps, reishi, all the expensive stuff. Back in my old world, wild sangwon sold for anywhere from 500 to 5,000 yuan per pound, depending on age and quality. And the system said high quality. That means big money. I spun around and sprinted toward whatever tree it was growing on. Big sis saw me turn and run the other direction. She smiled. A sad, relieved smile. Good. He's leaving. He'll be safe. She climbed back up to the branch and huddled together with Chunmei. Chunmei, are you scared? A little. I've never even been to the county market. I heard they sell everything there. I was going to go when I saved up 20 copper coins. Guess I won't get the chance now. You're amazing for saving that much, Big Sis said, genuinely impressed. She'd never had a single coin in her life. She reached into her shirt and pulled out a cloth bundle. Inside was a little bird's nest with 6 eggs. 2 were already cracked. She'd come all the way into the deep mountain for bird eggs. Not because she was hungry for eggs, because she wanted another dinner like last night. That warm, happy family dinner that she'd remember forever. And now she was going to die in a tree with broken eggs in her pocket. There it was. A big old mulberry tree, and growing right on the trunk, sangwon mushroom. Not even high up. I could reach it just by stretching my arm. Detected, recyclable high-quality wild sangwon. Value, 4,500 mall coins. Recycle? Yes. Yes. Balance, 5,228. Now we're cooking. I spent exactly 3 seconds thinking about it, and dropped 5,000 coins on a compound bow. 60 pounds draw weight, pre-tuned, came with 10 3-edged high-carbon steel broadhead arrows. With this setup at effective range, forget wild boars. A grizzly bear would need to kneel down and pray. Back at the tree, I heard Big Sis and Chunmei scream. The tree was tilting. The boar was pushing harder, sensing that dinner was about to fall into its lap. Big Sis closed her eyes, grabbed Chunmei's hand. Ready to die? I drew the bow, aimed at the boar's chest. Let the arrow fly. SCUM. The boar let out the most pathetic death scream and bolted into the forest like its butt was on fire. Both girls opened their eyes. The pig was gone. They looked at each other in total confusion. Then I stepped out from behind a tree. Of course, I'd already stashed the compound bow back into the inventory and swapped it for a 99-coin traditional bow. Can't have people asking why I'm carrying military-grade equipment. Big Sis, you coming down, or what? Little Zhouyuan. Her jaw was on the forest floor. Did he scare off the boar? Since when can he shoot? And where did he get a BOW? Chunmei slid down the tree in about half a second. Crisis over, survival instincts off, I immediately reverted to my natural state, being annoying. Chunmei sis, didn't know you could climb trees. But maybe next time watch out when you're sliding down. Your pants are all ripped up. You little, say one more word, and I'll RIP your mouth off. Chunmei's face went red. She clamped her legs together, trying to hide the tear on her inner thigh where the bark had shredded the fabric. Little 3, is what people call me here. That's my nickname. It sounds way worse than it should in this context. Chunmei sis, I literally just saved your life. Can't you be a little nicer to your hero? Maybe consider repaying your debt with your hand in marriage, I said with a completely straight face. Look, I wasn't actually hitting on her. I'd just nearly died fighting a murder pig, and my nerves needed an outlet. Plus, original me's flirty autopilot was leaking through. You stop talking nonsense, Chunmei sputtered. Weird. She was usually the type to verbally destroy anyone in 3 seconds flat. She'd seen original me try this routine before and shut him down hard every time. But today she was being shy. Near-death experiences really do change people, huh? Big Sis watched me shamelessly trying to smooth-talk her best friend, and her heart was full. Not because of the flirting, because 5 minutes ago she'd already replayed her entire life, closed her eyes, and accepted death. Then this idiot brother showed up with a knife and saved her. She wanted to cry, but her face could only produce the biggest, brightest smile. I found this bow in the forest, I announced before either of them could ask. Some hunter probably dropped it. They both found this suspicious, but, honestly, found a bow was way more believable than bought it from a floating shopping app in my brain, so they let it slide. Big Sis grabbed my arm and started pulling me toward the trail. Let's go before that boar comes back. I was perfectly calm. That compound bow arrow went straight through its heart. That pig wasn't coming back. That pig was having a conversation with Pig Jesus. Sis, we're eating good tonight, I grinned. What? I didn't answer. I was already bent over, scanning the ground. Found it, a blood trail. Droplets on leaves, smears on dirt. I pulled out my machete and followed the path. Big Sis and Chunmei exchanged a look and scrambled after me. Every few yards I crouched down and find more blood. That boar was tough, though. It ran almost half a mile with an arrow through its heart before finally giving up. Found it collapsed in a thicket, arrow still sticking out of its chest. Blood everywhere. Mud caked on its gray-brown fur. I walked up and stabbed it in the butt twice with my machete, just to be absolutely sure. When a 400-pound pig doesn't flinch from getting stabbed in the rear end, it's dead. Science. Wave the girls over. They approached like they were walking toward a bomb. Even dead, those tusks looked terrifying. This thing's got to be over 400 pounds. I scratched my head. How do we get it home? That's when Big Sis's brain caught up. The danger was over. What was lying in front of us wasn't a monster anymore. It was meat. 400 pounds of meat. Her face went through about 17 emotions in 2 seconds. In a year where people were eating weeds and bark and couldn't get half full, where professional hunters come home empty 9 out of 10 trips, and even when they catch something, they sell every scrap for grain instead of eating it, she was mentally calculating. 30 coins per pound times 400 pounds equals. She tried to do the math. Failed. Didn't matter. The answer was a lot of money. I thought about just selling it to the mall and being done with it, but I couldn't exactly make a 400-pound pig vanish in front of 2 witnesses. Send them away? In these woods? After what just happened? Absolutely not. I raised my machete and eyeballed the pig's back legs. How about I butcher it here? We carry just the meat, leave the head and guts behind. Big Sis shook her head so hard I thought it'd fly off. No, that head alone is 30 or 40 pounds. We can't waste it. And the organs are meat too. Chunmei backed her up immediately. All of it is food. We're not leaving a single piece. The 3 of us can carry it. We'll make it work. How is this pig so fat? Chunmei was bent over with her hands on her knees, gasping like she'd run a marathon. The 3 of us were drenched in sweat. We'd barely managed to drag this absolute unit of a dead pig onto the forest trail. I looked down at my hands. The rope had rubbed blisters into my palms. I had a cheat system and I couldn't even use it because 2 witnesses were right here. We'd hauled 400+ pounds of dead pork through thorny bushes, and I was pretty sure my spine had filed for divorce. Then I spotted someone squatting in the trees nearby, digging up wild vegetables. I sprinted over like a man finding an oasis in the desert. And would you look at that? It was second uncle, crouching there digging up bitter lettuce. Quick family history. Dad was the oldest of 3 brothers. Everyone lived together fine until Grandma got mad about the adopted kids and tried to make Dad send Big Sis and second bro away. Dad refused, so Grandma forced a family split. We've been on our own ever since. Second uncle, he looked up. Little Zhouyuan, what are you doing this deep in the woods? Looking for food. Nothing left on the outer hills, so I wandered in a bit. Second uncle stood up, rummaged through his basket, and pulled out 2 roots from under his pile of greens. Here, kudzu roots. Boil them and eat. I heard you got attacked. Was going to check on you after work, but then they said you were fine. Thanks, uncle, but we have food at home. I didn't take them. Everyone's struggling right now. He's got 4 kids to feed, plus he's been quietly helping our fatherless household on the side. Don't be ridiculous. He shoved the roots into my hands with a fake, angry face. Then I caught the look in his eyes. It was everything at once. Pity, frustration, sadness, anger. That, I'm not madame disappointed, energy. He was looking at me the way you'd look at a perfectly good car someone drove into a lake. I shivered, stuffed the roots in my shirt. Time to change the subject fast. Uncle, I caught a wild boar up the mountain. Can you help me drag it home? You what? His voice went up about 3 octaves. And honestly, fair reaction. Normal people find a wild chicken up here and call it lucky. Finding a wild boar usually means you're about to be the meal, not the other way around. But I wasn't joking, and he could tell. He followed me down the trail, and then froze. There it was. Big Sis and Chunmei standing by the path. And behind them, a massive dead pig sprawled on the ground like it had given up on everything. Second uncle, both girls called out. He barely nodded. His eyes were bolted to that pig. Heaven is merciful, he whispered, pressing his palms together. The man was a professional, though. Pulled rope from his basket, tied up the boar's legs in seconds, and took point position. The 4 of us started hauling that pig downhill like the world's most ridiculous parade float. Let me recap my morning. Woke up, peeled a child's foot off my stomach, walked through the village, beat up a guy named 2 dogs, climbed a mountain, dug up medicinal roots, saved my sister from a murder pig, killed the murder pig, and then dragged 400 pounds of dead pig for over a mile. By the time we got home, it was late afternoon, and I was destroyed. But the best part? Along the way, every single villager we passed looked at us like we'd won the lottery. By the time we reached our gate, there was a mob following us. Just a massive crowd of gawkers trailing behind, like we were a celebrity funeral procession. Except instead of a coffin, it was a pig. That's enough pork to last till New Year. Who'd eat it? Trade it for white rice, and you'd get like 10 bushels. If you trade for millet or brown rice, oh man. Goo number 3 has the dumbest luck. Goes up the mountain once in 1,000 years and walks into a boar. Walking into a boar isn't luck, genius. You go walk into one and see if it doesn't kill you. Since when can he even shoot? Look at him with that bow strapped to his back, acting all cool. That river village hunter's son has been hunting for years with perfect aim, and a boar still crippled his leg. No way Goo number 3 actually shot this thing. He probably found it already dead. Even finding a dead boar takes luck. The boy survived a skull cracking and came back blessed. Second uncle left. I tried to get him to stay, but he absolutely refused. Chumay left too. Country folks are like that, happy to break their backs helping you. But the second you try to thank them, they run like you're contagious. I shut the gate. Sweet silence. Mom was in the kitchen heating water, and she had opinions. Little Yuan, don't butcher it. Tomorrow we'll borrow Yotsai's ox cart, take it to the county, and sell the whole thing. We can get grain and silver. This woman looked at 400 pounds of meat and saw 400 pounds of currency. She couldn't bear to eat a single bite. Mom, it's getting hot out. The meat will be fine overnight, but the organs will rot. If rotten guts stink up the pork, we won't get a good price for any of it. I scooped hot water into the wooden laundry basin, secretly squirted some dish soap from the mall, and scrubbed it clean. Let's butcher it now. Cook the organs tonight. Trust me, innards taste amazing. Tomorrow I'll take half the pig to sell in town. The other half we keep. Mom winced at the thought of eating the merchandise, but she's too soft to argue when I sound this determined. Second bro stepped up, and, surprise, this skinny kid who looks like a strong breeze could snap him? Absolute surgeon with a knife. Skinned that boar and gutted it like he'd done it 100 times. Clean cuts, no wasted movement, total professional. For eggs was his little shadow, carrying basins, pouring water, running back and forth. The kid had the energy of a nuclear reactor because in his mind, every task he completed brought him one step closer to pork. By the time second bro finished butchering the pig, it was pitch dark outside. I chopped off a whole back leg and headed to second uncle's house. Mom watched me walk out the gate carrying 30 pounds of premium pork, and her face did that thing where it was 50% heartbreak over losing meat money and 50% pride that her garbage son was becoming a human being. Second uncle's family hadn't split from grandma and grandpa yet, so everyone lived in one big compound. Country folk go to bed when the sun goes down because lamp oil costs money. I stood outside the wall yelling like a lunatic. Second uncle. Second UNCLE. Inside, grandma sat up in bed. Old man, is that little Yuan hollering out there? Grandpa fumbled for the flint and lit the oil lamp. Grandma was already running analysis. Manchong said little Yuan caught a boar today. He probably wants help hauling it to town tomorrow to sell. Then she added, and I could practically hear the wall she put up. Big brother's family hasn't had grain in who knows how long. But if anyone thinks I'm sending MY food to feed those two outsiders, they can forget it. She meant big sis and second bro. After all these years, grandma still saw the adopted kids as freeloaders. This is why dad split from the family in the first place. But I'll make little Yuan a black flour pancake, and one for 4 eggs to take home. So, no food for the outsiders, but pancakes for the blood grandkids. Grandma's love came with terms and conditions. Grandpa had already shuffled to the door in his straw slippers before she finished talking. Grandpa, I got a wild boar today. Brought you a leg. I grinned, holding up 30 pounds of pork like a trophy. Child, this leg is worth serious money. Take it back right now. Have your uncle help you sell it in the county tomorrow. Trade it for millet. You need to survive. That was Grandma. She hadn't even let Grandpa open his mouth before launching into her lecture. Mother, this is your eldest grandson bringing you a gift from his heart. You can't just reject his filial piety. That shrill voice belonged to third aunt, Uncle number 3's wife, Wang Shi. She appeared out of nowhere, eyes literally glowing at the pork leg like a cat spotting a laser pointer. I completely ignored her. Grandma, that boar was huge. After selling the rest, we'll still have plenty of grain money. In this economy, you think there's such a thing as too much grain? You don't run a household, so you don't know what things cost. Do you know how much food 5 people eat in one day? She was picking up steam. I shot Grandpa a desperate look. He coughed twice and nudged Grandma. Weren't you going to make the boy a pancake? Go on then. Grandma slapped her own thigh. Oh, right. Third aunt's expression flickered. She was about to complain about Grandma using their flour, but then she looked at that massive pork leg again and swallowed her words. Smart trait. Grandma, don't worry about the pancake. It's late. I need to get home. I set the leg on the table. Second uncle came out of his room, picked up the leg, and tried to shove it back at me. Take this home. It's a drought year. The harvest is going to be terrible. Your family needs every coin from this meat to keep your mother and siblings alive. Third aunt panicked. His second uncle. That leg is a gift for the elders. It's not yours to give back. What right do you have to? Third aunt. I cut in with a smile. You don't know the full story. Second uncle helped me drag this boar down the mountain. The leg is his payment for the labor. Third aunt's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Nothing came out. Checkmate. Second aunt, the actually decent one, tried the gentle approach. Little Zhouyuan, we're family. No need for payment. Take the meat back. Sell it. Buy grain. Pork isn't something farming families can afford to eat. You need to think long-term. Third aunt was dying inside. Oh, so now second branch is playing the noble family. We don't need to eat? My 3 kids haven't tasted meat in months. That leg is at least 30 pounds. That's nearly a whole tael of silver. I've been married into this family for over 10 years, and my entire savings aren't even 1 tael. And my useless husband is in there snoring like a chainsaw instead of coming out to help me fight for this. Second aunt, please keep it, I said. When I was hungry, I used to show up here at meal times and mooch food. I was young and didn't get it. But after everything that's happened, I think I've grown up a little. I don't know any big fancy principles. I just know that whoever's been good to me, I want to be good to them. Second aunt didn't expect that from me. Truth is, she'd never gone out of her way to help our family. Original me would just shamelessly appear at dinner time, and she'd share whatever her own 4 kids were eating. No drama, no hiding food like third aunt would. Just quiet, simple kindness. She never expected anything back. But hearing that someone noticed, someone remembered, she couldn't find words. Just kept nodding, hands wiping back and forth on her apron like they wouldn't stop moving. Second uncle and grandpa exchanged a look. Both faces full of the same expression. This kid grew up overnight. On the way home, I stopped at Chunmei's house with 8 or 9 pounds of pork. Gu number 3, her mom, Auntie Zhang, started the polite refusal dance. Chunmei told me everything. If it weren't for you, my girl wouldn't have come home today. We can't possibly take your pork. She said this while the meat sat on the table. She did not touch it. She did not move it toward me. She actually nudged it a tiny bit further away from the edge. Just to be safe. I don't blame her. Pork was basically gold in this village. Normal families only bought half a pound at the New Year market, mixed it with 10 times the amount of cabbage, and made black flour dumplings. 8 pounds of pork was an unthinkable amount. Chunmei, though, she grabbed that pork and shoved it at me. We can't take this. Auntie Zhang reached to stop her, but Chunmei was faster. The old lady's hand grabbed nothing but air and regret. Chunmei, sis, what are you doing? We hauled that pig down together. You earned your share. The pig was chasing me. You saved me. I haven't even thanked you for saving my life, and now you're giving me pork? She was dead serious. And stubborn. The combination was terrifying. Exactly. You're the reason I caught the pig in the first place. Think about it. When you go fishing, you need bait to catch the big fish, right? You were my pig fishing bait. That's a huge contribution. I delivered this with a big grin, very proud of my metaphor. You're the pig bait. Chunmei's face went green with rage. I shook my head very seriously. Not just anyone can lure a pig, you know. Pigs have standards. They prefer young, pretty girls. Her face instantly flipped from green to bright red. This girl was used to me running my mouth. Original me did it constantly. She'd normally just ignore it. But today her MOM was standing right there, and I'd basically just called her daughter attractive pig bait. PDUH, she spat and rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. Here's the thing. I wasn't exactly a gentleman in my previous life either. and original me was a certified street-level scoundrel. The two of us merged together created the ultimate smooth-talking menace. I didn't even realize that flirting with girls in this era was a serious social taboo. I was just sitting here thinking, wow, Chunmei sure is thin-skinned. I shrugged at Annie Zhang, whose expression had gone. Complicated. Well, I should head back. Lots to do at home. Auntie Zhang stood up smiling, walked me to the door, and said, "Oh, I was going to ask you to stay. I'd cook you a nice bowl of bean flour soup. Why are you leaving so soon?" This was exactly like Chinese New Year red envelope theater from my old life. You know the dance. Auntie, I'm too old for red envelopes. I couldn't possibly. Holds pocket wide open. I remembered that and burst out laughing like an idiot. Both mother and daughter were staring at me like I'd lost my mind. My face heated up instantly. Ahem. Anyway, goodbye. I bolted. Chunmei chased me with the pork. Take it back. Chunmei sis, please stop. We have tons of pork at home. She opened her mouth to argue, and I called back without turning around. Tell you what, when we run out of pork, I'll come get you to help me bait more pigs. Get lost. She was stomping her feet behind me, so hard I could feel the vibrations. Got home. Mom had dinner ready. The whole family was sitting at the table waiting for me. That was new. Usually original me shoved everyone aside and ate first. No vegetable soup tonight. We slaughtered a whole pig. Tonight was butcher's feast. I was so hungry I could have eaten an entire boar. Then I put a piece of pig liver in my mouth, and suddenly I wasn't hungry anymore. This feast was, let me describe it. Take all the organs, every single one, throw them in a pot, add water, add chunky salt, nothing else. Wild boar meat already smells gamey. The innards? Those smelled like a crime scene. That first bite almost made me throw up on the table. Everyone else was inhaling it like it was Michelin star cuisine. Were they not tasting the same thing I was tasting? Of course they were. But when you've been starving for months, your body doesn't care about flavor. It cares about calories. Taste buds are a luxury. Little Yuan, why aren't you eating? Mom noticed my chopsticks hadn't moved. Eating. Definitely eating. I stabbed my chopsticks into the pot and fished around. Pulled up a piece of pig lung. Pale. White. Jiggly. It looked like something from an autopsy. I quietly released it back into the wild. Tried again. Got a piece of large intestine. The fat inside hadn't been cleaned out because why would a starving family throw away perfectly good fat? So this intestine was packed. 100% original flavor. Full factory settings. No cleaning, no processing, no mercy. You know that Chinese cooking show where the chef intentionally preserved some of the large intestine's natural essence, and the judge looked like he wanted to commit violence? My face was doing that exact expression right now. Here, don't be shy. There's plenty of organs. Mom lovingly piled several more pieces of fat-packed intestine into my bowl. She thought I was being polite. She thought her son had matured and was letting everyone else eat first. I almost cried. The pain mask flashed across my face for 1 millisecond before I forced a grin. Mom, I ate at Grandma's house earlier. I'm actually really full. This was believable because Grandma always snuck food to her blood grandkids. Mom just fake scolded me. If you knew we were cooking meat, why'd you eat over there? Third bro, you're not eating? Can I have yours? For eggs was already reaching for my bowl. I nodded and this child dumped my entire pile of fat intestines into his own bowl and went to town. This kid's taste buds were built different. I shook my head and launched my master plan. I read in a book once that certain herbs can be used as spices for cooking meat. I happened to find some on the mountain today. Everyone stared at me. We've got all this organ meat. Let me try cooking some with the herbs and see if it tastes better. Mom shut that down. Herbs? And meat? That stuff is bitter. You'll ruin perfectly good pork. Wasting food is a s-gin. I played my trump card, but it was written in a book. Are you questioning what the scholars wrote, Mom? She slapped both hands over her mouth. If it was in a book, written by educated people, then it must be right. She didn't dare argue with books. Into the kitchen I went. Big sis was on fire duty. I turned the intestines inside out and washed them about 500 times. Blanched all the organs properly. Then I spent 8 mall coins on a braised meat secret recipe. The ingredient list was insane. Star anise, cloves, cardamom, galangal, dried tangerine peel, things I'd never even heard of. Some of these spices didn't even exist in this world. Forget it. Bought a pre-made spice packet from the mall, ripped off the packaging, and hid it in my sleeve like a magician. Oil in the pot. Big handful of rock sugar. Low flame. Caramelized it into a gorgeous amber syrup. Big sis heard the oil sizzling and winced. There goes more precious oil. But I'd already warned her that this was a top secret recipe from my books. Classified information. She was not allowed to look at the stove. She obediently kept her head down and fed the fire. Besides, last time she thought I'd used all the cooking oil and then discovered it was barely touched. Maybe she was just bad at judging oil sounds. With Big Sis safely not watching, I went full chef mode. Ginger slices, scallion knots, cooking wine, light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, oyster sauce, the entire spice packet. With this much seasoning? Forget wild boar organs. I could throw a SCUM in that pot, and it would come out tasting like a delicacy. Full heat for 10 minutes. Then I had Big Sis pull the firewood back, low simmer for half an hour. The smell that started filling that kitchen was something Big Sis had never experienced in her life. Rich, deep, savory, meaty perfection seeping through every crack in the walls. She'd just eaten a full meal. Stuffed. Done. She was drooling anyway. It smells so good. For Egg's nose was twitching like a rabbit on caffeine. Mom smelled it too. She'd been cooking for this family for years, but her greatest culinary achievement was wild vegetable soup. She wasn't a foodie by any stretch, but even SHE had to admit, whatever was happening in that kitchen smelled like it came from another dimension. Second bro quietly swallowed his saliva. More saliva immediately replaced it. His mouth was running an infinite refill program. Now, technically, braised meat should soak in the sauce for a few hours to really absorb the flavor. But I was starving. I grabbed a piece of pig liver and chomped down. Hot, 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 burned my whole mouth. But no gamey smell. Pure savory, braised perfection. I mentally gave myself a chef's kiss and a 5-star review. I fished out a big batch, chopped it up, threw it in a bowl, and carried it out with Big Sis. The whole family swarmed like moths to a flame. The organs were glistening reddish-brown, looking absolutely nothing like the war crimes that had been served earlier. The smell was complex, layered, rich, completely alien to anything these people had ever encountered. "What are you waiting for? Eat," I said, watching 4 Eggs' eyes literally glaze over with desire. Before the last syllable left my mouth, 4 Eggs had already jammed a piece of large intestine into his face. "This child, nobody's going to steal it from you," Mom laughed. MMFFF. Hoo-hoo, so good. 4 Eggs was chewing with his cheeks packed full like a chipmunk in a nut factory. Then his brain made a terrible connection. So large intestine doesn't always taste like a sewer? That means the intestine he ate earlier, the poopy flavor, was that actual? He decided not to finish that thought. Second bro tried a piece of stomach. Soft, tender, zero gamey flavor, pure savory goodness. He looked down at his piece, then mentally looked back at the boiled white horror organs from an hour ago, and genuinely could not understand how he'd eaten those with a straight face. Big Sis tried some liver and immediately turned pink. She and Mom had cooked that first batch of organs together. She'd assumed innards were supposed to taste like a dumpster. Turns out, nope. It was just bad cooking. No wonder little Yuan wouldn't touch it earlier. How can pig organs taste this good? The book recipe really is something else. Mom was nodding between every bite. Then she pivoted. Smooth as butter. See? Reading is important. Little Yuan, are you sure you don't want to go back to South Lake Academy? Ah, yes. The Academy. Let me tell you about Original Me's scholarly career. South Lake Academy was a cheap private school, 1 tael of silver per year, or you could pay in grain. Mostly poor kids. Original Me was dead last in his class. Didn't care about studying. Just like strutting around the village pretending to be an intellectual. The whole family starved themselves to pay his tuition. Then this genius fell in love with the daughter of the restaurant owner next to the school. To impress her, he started eating at her family's fancy restaurant constantly, burning through money he didn't have. Blew through Dad's entire military death pension. The girl was polite to him, they'd chat sometimes, and Original Me's romance brain activated at maximum power. He wrote her love letters. Terrible ones, probably. Turns out the girl already had a boyfriend. The son of Magistrate Zhao. You know, the guy whose goons beat Original Me's skull in with a club? Yeah, that's the backstory of why I woke up in this body with a cracked head. So no, I was not going back to that school to sit in a room rocking back and forth reciting ancient texts. I'd rather eat the texts. Mom, we don't have the money for tuition. Plus room and board costs extra, Mom sighed. When the wheat harvest comes in, I'll pay this month's fees. No need. I can study at home by myself, as if I wanted to take some imperial exam. Hard pass. Mom wanted to push harder but saw my face and gave up with a long sigh. The braised meat vanished in minutes. I went back and cut another huge bowl, then loaded up the pot again. Pig head, pig heart, pig tail, chopped up a trotter, dumped it all in the leftover braising liquid with more seasonings. Second bro hauled in a mountain of firewood. Big sis took over fire duties like a seasoned pro. We worked until nearly 11 at night, way past everyone's bedtime. But nobody was tired. You fill a chronically starving family with braised pork and suddenly everyone's got the energy of a toddler on sugar. We're going to the county to sell pork tomorrow. Go to bed, I finally ordered. I slept like the dead. Probably burned 10,000 calories that day between beating up 2 dogs, climbing a mountain, killing a boar, and dragging it home. Next morning, roosters screaming, I rolled out of bed and splashed some water on my face. Second bro had already moved half a pig carcass into the yard. This kid was a machine. I checked. Uncle Yotsai's ox cart is free today. Just tell me when you're leaving and I'll go get him, second bro said, wiping sweat. Village families didn't do breakfast. 2 meals a day, that's it. My stomach disagreed strongly. I went to the kitchen. Nothing but last night's braised meat sitting in the pot. Way too heavy for morning. Made some plain millet porridge instead. Mom and big sis were out weeding the fields, so it was just us 3 brothers at the table. Pure millet porridge without wild vegetables was surprisingly delicious. I made a cold purslane salad on the side. Crunchy, fresh, clean. Porridge plus cold greens. Chef's kiss. Perfect combo. For eggs wiped his mouth, leaned in, and whispered, third bro, did you break open Mom's grain cabinet? I gave him a look. Said nothing. He wasn't done. If we keep eating like this, won't we run out of food in like 2 days? This child was genuinely worried. In his entire life, he'd never heard of any family in the village eating breakfast. And here we were having pure millet porridge. No wild vegetables mixed in. All you can eat. His little brain was running the math. Good food now equals starvation later. These past 2 days felt like a dream, and he was terrified of waking up to find out we'd burned through everything and the whole family would just sit around waiting to die. You worry too much, kid. As long as I'm around, nobody's starving. I flicked 4 eggs on the forehead. He rubbed the spot and gave me this look. This look, like a tiny accountant staring at a CEO who just bought a gold-plated helicopter. Sure, third bro can cook now. Sure, the food's been amazing. But bird eggs and wild boars don't just spawn every day. When this pig runs out, what then? Third bro doesn't even know the word budget. The worry in this child's eyes was so mature, it was genuinely upsetting. He's like 8 and already thinking about household financial planning. I loaded up a big bowl of braised organs and headed to the old family compound. On the way in, I spotted second aunt picking through wild vegetables with little flower, second uncle's 13-year-old daughter. Second uncle had 4 kids total. Big pillar, 19, married, wife currently pregnant. Second pillar, 17, same age as me, and the twins, little flower and fourth pillar, both 13. Mom, I smell meat. Little flower's nose was working overtime. Second aunt shot her a look. You're dreaming about that pork leg your third bro brought last night. It hasn't even been cooked. Your dad's taking it to sell for millet and salt. Little flower sniffed harder. She knew she smelled meat, and it was getting stronger. Morning, second aunt. She turned around. Oh, little Zhouyuan. Looking for your uncle? He's been ready and waiting. Little flower's eyes locked onto my bowl like a targeting system. Little flower, you see your third bro standing right here, and you don't even say hello? What are you staring at? She used to be terrified of original me. He'd look at her sideways, talk down to her, beat up 4 eggs in front of everyone. She'd literally cross the street to avoid him. But today I was smiling and my voice was gentle, and I could see her brain recalculating in real time. Wait, smiling third bro is actually kind of handsome. This girl. Say hello to your third bro, second aunt scolded, but she'd also noticed the bowl. It had meat in it. This was unprecedented. Original me always showed up with an empty bowl looking for handouts. Showing up with food was like seeing a dog walk a human on a leash. Second aunt, we made some braised wild boar organs. My mom asked me to bring some over for you all to try. Second aunt froze. Our branch of the family had been on bad terms with the old household ever since Grandma forced the family split. Mom and the elders here basically pretended each other didn't exist, wouldn't even say hi on the street. And now Mom was sending food? Little Flower jumped to her feet. "Third bro, is this meat for US?" I nodded. Her eyes sparkled and she gathered all her courage. "Can I eat my piece right now?" See, she knew the rules. If this bowl goes inside the house, Grandma takes charge. And Grandma had a strict hierarchy. Boys eat first, then adults, then whatever's left, which for Little Flower meant nothing. Grandma's favoritism toward boys was legendary. Little Flower had calculated her odds and determined that intercepting the meat before it reached the distribution system was her only play. This kid had survival instincts sharper than mine. I picked up a piece of pig head meat and held it out to her. She reached for it, saw her hands covered in vegetable mud, and yanked them back. I leaned down and held the meat to her mouth instead. She bit down on reflex, and her eyes went enormous. This was meat? She'd never had a proper chunk of pork in her life. The closest she'd ever come was New Year dumplings, which were 90% cabbage with a rumor of pork somewhere inside. Something this delicious existed in the world? The meat was braised so tender it basically dissolved. She swallowed it before she even realized what happened. Then instant regret. Something this good should have been savored. Tiny bites. Slow chewing. She just inhaled it like 4 eggs. What a waste. Here, have a pigtail too. They say pigtails cure kids from drooling. I handed her a piece. She wiped her hands on her clothes about 47 times, then cradled that pigtail like it was made of diamonds. Couldn't bring herself to bite it. Second aunt smiled warmly and swatted at her daughter. "Greedy girl, now stop standing there. Go tell your grandparents that third bro brought them something good." Inside the compound, Grandpa was chopping wood and Grandma was mincing wild vegetables to feed the chickens. They only had 2 old hens left, and without proper grain. Both chickens were skinny as sticks and hadn't laid a single egg in a month. Grandma and Grandpa were planning to sell them in town today along with the pork leg. Fatten them up a tiny bit first so they'd weigh more at market. "Grandpa, Grandma, third bro brought meat." Little Flower bounced in like a kangaroo. "How many times have I told you? A lady should be calm and graceful. You're almost 15. When you're married off, people will say the Gu family has no manners." Grandma snapped. "Beat. Wait, did you say your third brother brought meat? Didn't he just bring a leg yesterday? Did he catch another boar?" Grandpa looked confused. No, it's cooked meat. Look, like this." Little Flower held up her pigtail for show and tell. Grandma's hand shot out and snatched that pigtail faster than a striking cobra. Brought it to her nose. Sniffed. Little Flower watched her pigtail get kidnapped in real time. Her eyes followed Grandma's hand. Her lip started to tremble. Any second now, she was going to cry. "Please give it back. Please give it back. That was my pigtail. Third bro gave it to me specifically. Please." Grandma's grip tightened. She had absolutely no idea it belonged to Little Flower. A shadow fell over Little Flower. Something heavy appeared in her hand. She looked down. Half a pig trotter. She looked up. I winked at her and pressed a finger to my lips. Shoo. She stuffed that trotter into her shirt so fast it would have made a magician jealous, then beamed at me with the brightest smile I'd seen all week. "Grandma, Mom asked me to bring you some braised meat." I handed over the big bowl. Grandma started her lecture. "You need to budget. You can't just eat through all this pork. Slow and steady. You think meat grows on trees? It's just organs, Grandma. They'd go bad in 2 days if we didn't cook them. And pig head and trotters don't sell for much anyway. So Mom just braised everything together." She nodded, grudgingly satisfied. Deep down, though, she was happy. Big Brother's family had never given her anything but headaches. Mom and Grandma hadn't spoken in years. But now Mom was sending food, and little Zhouyuan was acting like an actual human grandson. Her heart condition was healing by the minute. Although, if only they'd get rid of those 2 outsiders, then everything would be perfect. Some things never change. Grandma took the bowl. Heavy, packed with glistening reddish-brown braised organs that smelled like heaven's kitchen. Big Pillar and Second Pillar came back from hauling water. Big Pillar gave me a nod. That was his version of a speech. Second Pillar was the exact opposite. This kid was a chatterbox. "Little 3, Dad says you shot a wild boar yesterday? Since when can you shoot?" "I've always known how." "You just didn't know," I said, not even looking at him. "Impossible. You can't even chop firewood. How can you shoot arrows? You think my mom spends all that money on tuition just so I can learn to read? Second pillar blinked. What else do you learn at school? How to chop firewood. Shallow. I suddenly barked. What's shallow? Your vision is shallow. I tilted my chin up and struck a pose of supreme intellectual superiority. Honestly, this matched original me's energy about 100%. School doesn't just teach reading. We learn etiquette, musical instruments, archery, horseback riding, the 6 arts of the gentleman. Ritual, music, archery, charioteering, calligraphy, mathematics. But never mind. You wouldn't understand. I waved my hand dismissively and put on my most mysterious face. Second pillar didn't understand a word of that. Old me used to brag too, but second pillar could always poke holes in it within 30 seconds. Today the bragging was on a completely different level. He couldn't even find where to start arguing. For the first time in his life, he felt like maybe. Third bro was actually kind of impressive. At minimum, his BS skills had leveled up considerably. I felt his admiring gaze land on me. I clasped my hands behind my back, tilted my head 45 degrees toward the sky, and stared into the philosophical distance. Manchong, it's hot out. You better sell that pork fast. Try the restaurants. They buy in bulk, Uncle Yukai called from the front of the ox cart. Normally this cart carries 12 people and leaves when 6 seats are filled, charging 2 copper coins each. Today I'd booked the whole cart for 18 coins to haul half a pig and 1 leg. Of course I didn't have 18 coins. Second uncle paid. I was technically still broke in the real-world economy. Yotsai's right. We've only ever sold grain in town. Just walk into the grain shop and they weigh it. Selling meat is a different game. We'll have to figure it out when we get there, second uncle said. I wasn't worried at all. Meat was scarce. Country people couldn't afford to eat it, but city folks with money? They'd snap this up. 200 pounds of pork in a whole county? That's nothing. In worst case, I had them all. The cart rocked and swayed for over an hour before we reached the county town. Out of the 3 of us, I knew the city best. 2 years of studying here. I followed the mental GPS in original me's memories and directed the cart toward a restaurant. Yuan Qing restaurant, giant gold characters on a massive sign. Fancy building. Very impressive. Wait, this was the restaurant where original me used to blow all his money trying to impress the owner's daughter. The same girl whose actual boyfriend had him clubbed in the skull. My body had autopiloted here. Original me's obsession was literally burned into the muscle memory. I wanted to change destinations, but my feet were like, nah, we're going here. Heh, still not over her. Are you? I muttered to myself. Fine. A restaurant is a restaurant. Money is money. Let's do this. I hopped off the cart and walked toward the entrance. Wait, little Yuan. What are you doing? Second uncle panicked. He probably thought I was hungry and about to walk into a luxury restaurant for lunch. Half a pig probably couldn't even cover 1 meal here. I'm going to ask if they want to buy wild boar meat, I reassured him. A server at the door immediately blocked my path. These guys screened customers all day. They could smell money from 50 feet away. I was wearing rough cloth peasant clothes. In his eyes, I was 1 step above a beggar. Hold on. What are you doing here? I need to talk to your manager about a business deal. You. A business deal? If you're here for leftovers, come back at 2. That's when we dump the scraps. You're dressed like a beggar. Doing business? Sure, buddy. The server's face was pure contempt. Dog eyes seeing low. Go get your manager right now. If you cost him this deal, can you afford that? I looked at the server sideways with an expression even more punchable than his. Original me's arrogance was useful for something. The server was actually rattled, couldn't figure out if I was somebody important in terrible clothes. A middle-aged man walked over. Goatee. Skinny as a praying mantis. Zhao, what's all the noise? Boss, it's nothing. This mudleg here says he wants to discuss business with you. Can you believe? The manager raised 1 eyelid, scanned me up and down, and gave me the most sarcastic smile. And what business does this fine gentleman wish to discuss? He leaned hard on, fine gentleman. I caught a wild boar yesterday. Big restaurant like yours could use some specialty items on the menu, don't you think? The manager's expression shifted. Wild boar meat was rare. If he bought it and had the kitchen develop some new dishes, he could finally get ahead of his rival, the Laifu restaurant across the street. Those 2 restaurants had been in a death match for years. Every time one invented a popular new dish, the other would copy it within weeks. Neither could pull ahead. But ingredients, that was harder to copy. Wild boar meat would be a genuine exclusive. Manager Wu stroked his goatee, thinking, calculating. Where's the meat? Right outside. Show me. He followed me out, saw the half-pig on the cart, and nodded with approval. Dark skin, coarse bristly fur. Definitely wild. He was just about to ask my price when, Daddy, don't buy anything from this creep. Daddy, don't buy anything from this creep. I turned around. A young woman was marching toward us. Pink silk dress, embroidered flowers, fair skin, pretty face, lips pressed tight, eyebrows scrunched up like she'd just stepped in something unpleasant. Not bad looking. Shame about the overwhelming tea flavor radiating off her entire being. Manager Wu's face melted into full daddy mode. Jiro, you're back. She ignored her father completely, planted her hands on her hips, and pointed at me like I was a criminal on trial. How can you be so shameless? Still coming here to harass me? Let me make this perfectly clear. I wouldn't look at you even if I went blind. Now this was a scene. The restaurant sat on a busy street, and within about 3 seconds, a crowd had materialized out of thin air. People in this era didn't have phones. Live drama was their entertainment. The audience immediately wrote the script in their heads. Poor boy obsessed with rich girl rejects him. Poor boy won't stop stalking. Classic. Everyone started pointing and whispering at me. Second uncle and Uncle Yukai were hunched behind the ox cart, trying to become invisible. These two countrymen had never experienced public drama at this scale, and their survival instinct was telling them to become furniture. But me? In my previous life, I was this close to being a professional kept man. My face was thicker than the Great Wall. I smiled cheerfully. Such a pretty girl. What a shame about the blindness. TSK, TSK, TSK. I shook my head with maximum sympathy. Her face turned the color of a tomato. You shut. You wrote me those disgusting love poems, and I burned them. You still won't give up. You're a toad trying to eat swan meat. Classic move. She was performing for the audience. Look at me, the poor victim of this obsessive stalker. So exhausting being this attractive. Let me break down what actually happened here. This girl grew up in a merchant family. Manipulation was in her DNA. She was pretty and she knew it, so she maintained what I call a fish pond. Every guy who showed interest, she'd smile at them just enough to keep them hooked. Not too much, not too little. Perfect bait management. Original me was the tiniest shrimp in her pond. She smiled at him a few times, chatted casually, and this idiot spent nearly 20 taels of silver eating at her restaurant trying to impress her. 20 taels. From a family that couldn't afford grain. But shrimp or not, money is money. She wasn't going to release any fish voluntarily. The problem started when Zhao Gongzi, the rich magistrate's son, her big fish, caught original me's love poem. And rule number 1 of fish pond management is, never let the fish know about each other. She instantly threw original me under the bus. Cried to Zhao Gongzi about how this stalker wouldn't leave her alone. Zhao Gongzi got furious, hired some thugs, and beat original me so hard they broke 2 wooden clubs on his skull. Rule number 2, when a fish gets exposed, discard it. Make sure the performance is flawless so the other fish don't get suspicious. So here she was, performing Act 2 of I Am the Victim in front of a live audience. Problem was, she was used to dealing with the old goo number 3, the tongue-tied idiot who couldn't form a sentence around a pretty girl. Today she was dealing with me. Oh, you burned the love poems? So there's no evidence? It's just your word? Well then, I could also say you wrote me love letters, and when I rejected you, you went crazy with heartbreak. I picked my ear and snorted. Her jaw dropped. This was not in the script. Daddy Wu couldn't watch his princess get roasted anymore. Boy, say one more word, and I'll have someone knock every tooth out of your head. From behind the cart, second uncle launched himself onto the ground, grabbed the wooden pole we'd used to carry the boar, and silently planted himself next to me. Face like stone. 0 words. Uncle Yukai sat up straight and grabbed the long butchering knife from the cart. Nobody asked them to. They just did it. Your daughter threw mud on me first. How does me defending myself become talking nonsense? I spread my arms wide and raised my voice. Broad daylight. Clear skies. You want to knock my teeth out? Manager Wu, just because you're rich and powerful, you think you can assault a poor man like me and ignore the law? Maximum volume. Maximum drama. The crowd rippled. Here's the thing about crowds of poor people. Individually, they're scared of the rich. but pack them together and give them a reason? That fear transforms into rage. With 3 sentences, I'd taken a personal squabble and turned it into a class war. Suddenly, this wasn't creepy guy stalks girl. It was rich bully threatens innocent commoner, and I was the people's champion. Don't be afraid, little brother. Assault is a jailable offense. We'll testify for you at the magistrate's court. Rich people think they can do whatever they want. Wu Jiro stared at the crowd in horror. This was going completely off script. Manager Wu was turning purple. Sharp tongue. You really aren't afraid to die? Do you even know whose territory this is? Terrified. I'm absolutely shaking. I slapped my chest with the most theatrical expression imaginable. Then I dropped the act and went cold. You marking territory now? What are you, a dog peeing on a corner? Touch me with 1 finger today, and I will sue the pants off you. And if your belt is too tight, I'll find a way to make it loose. Ha! The crowd erupted. This random farm kid was standing in front of the richest restaurant in town, telling the owner he'd literally sue his pants off. The people were loving it. Some were worried, though. This kid was clearly a farmer, cotton clothes, calloused hands. Talking trash to rich people feels great in the moment, but the consequences? Not great. Wu Jiro bit her lip. The trembling idiot who used to stutter in her presence was gone. In his place was a verbal cruise missile that she couldn't shoot down. She tried one more angle. If you're not here to stalk me, why did you come to our restaurant out of all the restaurants in the city? Oh, I killed a wild boar and came to sell it. Ask your dad. We were literally negotiating a price when you showed up. This city has dozens of restaurants, and I happened to start with yours because I studied at South Lake Academy around the corner, and I know this area. Somewhere deep inside me, original me's ghost was still clinging to this girl. That last stubborn echo of his crush had guided my body here without my permission. Looking at her now, though, the manipulation, the crocodile tears, the fish pond strategy, self-centered and delusional. Pretty face, bizarre brain wiring, I said flatly. PTUH. Shameless. Her face was red as a sunset. PTUH. Shameless. Wu Jiro's face was pink as her dress. Huh. I genuinely didn't understand what I'd done now. Give up already. We will never happen. No amount of flattery or compliments will change my mind. She struck a heroic pose with the sun backlighting her like she was the protagonist of her own drama. I just stared. I'd called her delusional, and she interpreted it as a compliment. This girl's self-absorption had its own gravitational field. She sensed something was off about my expression, but couldn't figure out what. Her brain was still running on the assumption that every male interaction revolved around her. I did not have time for this. But looking around at the 3 layers of rubberneckers surrounding us, a light bulb went off in my head. All these people, standing here, with money in their pockets, doing nothing. I cleared my throat and bellowed. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Genuine mountain fresh wild boar. Only 30 coins a pound. Buy as much or as little as you want. Braise it, stew it, stuff it in dumplings. Guaranteed you'll come back for more. The crowd did a collective double-take. 1 second they were watching a romantic soap opera, and the next second the male lead had pivoted into a meat salesman. But you know what? It worked. Young man, 2 pounds of front leg. A white-haired grandpa stepped up as customer number 1. Excellent choice, sir. This boar ate wild herbs and drank spring water its whole life. Premium nutrition right here. I want 3 pounds of belly, half a pound, something fatty, 1 pound of hind leg, no skin. Orders were flying in like arrows. I spun around to second uncle, who was standing there completely frozen. Uncle, stop standing there. Start cutting. All right. He grabbed the knife from Uncle Yukai and started hacking at the carcass with the coordination of a man who'd never worked retail in his life. Uncle Yukai grabbed the scale and jumped in. Wu Jiro's jaw was on the ground. This lunatic was running a butcher shop in front of her family's restaurant. Her eyes shot to her father, who looked equally brain-dead. Manager Wu snapped out of it first. AFU, AGUI, go flip their card. 2 servers rolled up their sleeves and charged at us like discount thugs. Thunk. Second uncle slammed his knife into the pig's butt cheek and slowly pulled it out with a wet schlorp. Afu and Agawe stopped dead at exactly 3 meters away. Started sort of swaying in place. Couldn't seem to remember how to walk forward. You 2 useless wastes. You eat more than anyone, and the moment I need you, you're worthless, Manager Wu screamed. He thought about going himself, looked at second uncle's knife. His foot, which had started to move forward, mysteriously retreated. You dirt farming peasant. Who gave you permission to sell in front of my restaurant? I'm 10 feet away from your building. How is this in front of your restaurant? I didn't even turn around. Too busy making sales. Everything within 10 feet of my restaurant is my property. UP here to market? That explains the smell. I pinched my nose and made a disgusted face. Then I walked to the restaurant entrance, took 4 big steps outward, and called to Uncle Yukai. Uncle, move the cart over here. He did. The cart moved approximately half a step from where it had been. Manager Wu's face turned the color of a seasick frog. His mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. That's the same spot, Wu Zhiro shrieked. Completely different. Before we were within 10 feet. Now we're beyond 10 feet. Beyond 10 feet is not your restaurant's property. Your daddy just said so. That's ridiculous. This is still our front door. Wait, beyond 10 feet is also yours now? Did you pee again? How much liquid do you have? Wu Zhiro grabbed her side. Her liver physically hurt. From rage. In her entire life, no man had ever spoken to her like this. Especially after she turned 15. Every guy who crossed her path was falling over himself to be a polite, elegant gentleman. Whatever disgusting thoughts they had, they kept them hidden behind refined smiles. And here was this farm boy saying, "Did you pee?" to her face without blinking. The men in the crowd were howling. Watching an untouchable goddess get dragged through the mud gave them some kind of primal satisfaction they couldn't explain. The women were less amused. This guy talks like a street thug. How can he say these things with a straight face? Deep inside my brain, I could feel original me's lingering feelings for this girl. That ghost of a crush still flickering. But I wasn't him. With my professional-grade gold digger radar, this girl wasn't any kind of pure angel. She was a fish pond operator running a multi-target romance scam. That said, I didn't hate her either. Original me liked a pretty girl and shot his shot. Nothing wrong with that. She didn't like him back. Nothing wrong with that either. The only villain here was the manipulation. So I didn't love her. Didn't hate her. Just didn't care. I turned my back on the furious father-daughter duo and got back to business. Big brother. See this right here? I pointed at a certain spiral-shaped piece of the boar's anatomy. Stew this with wolfberries and the power you'll feel. Hey, I gave a balding middle-aged man my best, you know what I mean, face. The man's eyes glazed over. He was clearly remembering something from his distant past. A dopey grin spread across his face. He started giggling to himself. I backed up 2 steps. This man was scary. He snapped out of it, wiped drool from his chin, shoved a fistful of copper coins at me, grabbed the merchandise, and speed walked away like he had somewhere very important to be. And I've got 2 more of these right here. Same effect, maybe even better. First come first served. Grandpa, you've got to be pushing 80. Can you even still? You know? This would be wasted on you. Leave it for us young folks. A 30-something guy tried to intercept. The old man had already snatched one and was clutching it like a dragon guarding treasure. I need it because I can't. You're only 30 and already need help? You're the waste. Ma'am, this is a men's product. You know, shape-based supplementation? You're missing the required hardware. It won't work for you. The guy gave up on Grandpa and lunged for the second one, but some lady had already grabbed it. I may not have the parts, but I have a man at home who does. You can supplement all you want, but at the end of the day, who are you doing it for? That's right, US. This woman was an absolute unit of confidence. She held up the item, made eye contact with the 30-year-old, slowly squeezed her fist. The item, deformed. She glared at him. Every man within a 10-foot radius instinctively clamped their legs together. Multiple groins experienced phantom pain simultaneously. Well. Goo boy, you've got a tough skull. I looked up from my booming pork business. Of course. Of all the streets in all the towns in all the world, Zhao Fuguei, the rich boy who literally ordered my skull cracked open, had to walk into this one. Here's the backstory on this clown. After his thugs reported back that the last club strike may have actually killed me, he'd been hiding in his house for days, terrified he'd caught a murder charge. Couldn't sleep. Nightmares every night. Didn't dare step outside. Today he finally worked up the courage to go out. Planned to visit his favorite brothel later. It was too early for that, so he figured he'd swing by the restaurant to see his precious Zhiro Mimi, first. Saw the crowd outside. Thought it was some restaurant promotion. Got closer. Saw me. Alive. Selling pork. Thriving. His fear evaporated and was immediately replaced by fury. He'd been losing sleep over a dead man who wasn't even dead. Slap. He backhanded his tall henchman across the face. You told me he was finished. The henchman was holding his cheek looking at me like I was a ghost. I hit him dead center on the back of the skull. The club broke in half. He should be brain dead at minimum. How is he standing there selling pork? Zhao Fugui noticed the crowd watching him, and his show-off addiction kicked in instantly. He kicked his henchman in the back of the knee and shouted, I told you to kill him, and you just roughed him up? The crowd gasped. Everyone knew Zhao Fugui was a menace, but openly admitting he'd ordered a hit? In public? Bold move for a guy with a single-digit IQ. Nobody dared say anything, though. His daddy was Zhao the official, a bought and paid for government title, sure, but the man had money and connections with the real magistrates. Regular people couldn't touch him. Zhao Fugui was clearly enjoying the spotlight. He looked over at me, expecting me to be trembling on the ground, begging for mercy. I was weighing 3 pounds of belly pork for a customer. Ho, quit studying and became a butcher, he sneered. His lackey chimed in. Well, DUH, after offending young master, how could he dare show his face at the academy? He'd just get beat up again. True, true, Zhao Fugui nodded, satisfied with his own intimidation. He waved his hand like a discount emperor. Boys, trash his stall, then give him a few more whacks. Let's see if his skull holds up a second time. My eyes went cold. I could let the thing with Wu Zhiro slide. I wasn't some revenge fantasy protagonist who needed to slap every face in sight. But this guy had tried to kill me, and he was standing here bragging about it. In my face. I didn't transmigrate into this world to be a punching bag. If I die, worst case I just transmigrate again. Might land somewhere with cotton mattresses next time. I put my smile back on. Nice and easy. You know, I was wondering why there were crows screaming on the restaurant roof all morning. Now I see. It's because young Master Zhao arrived. 3 faces went dark simultaneously. Manager Wu. Crows on MY roof? That's the worst omen there is. Wu Zhiro. People say if your daughter is destined for greatness, phoenixes land on your roof. If she's blessed, magpies appear. Crows means she's a curse? Zhao Fugui. The old saying goes, if you hear crows when leaving home, disaster follows. This peasant is literally cursing me. Zhao Fugui's smile turned icy. Bold. Very bold. Do you even know whose territory this is? Again with the territory. What was it with these people and territories? Oh, is this your territory, young Master Zhao? I gasped with fake surprise. At least you're not completely brain dead. Wait. No, that can't be right. I scratched my head in confusion. Manager Wu just said this was his territory. Zhao Fugui blinked. You guys really need to coordinate better. Do you even sniff each other's markings? That way your territories won't overlap. Sniff. Sniff what? Zhao Fugui's mouth hung open. He looked genuinely confused. Each other's pee. That's how you mark territory without conflict. Basic stuff. Someone in the crowd cracked first. One single, puffed, and the whole place detonated with laughter. Zhao Fugui stood there with his mouth open, still not understanding why everyone was laughing. Manager Wu leaned over and whispered the explanation. 3, 2, 1. You called me a dog? Kill him. Kill him right now. Second uncle had been getting progressively more nervous watching me poke this bear, but the moment someone threatened me, all that worry vanished. He grabbed his stick and planted himself in front of me like a wall. Uncle Yukai, guard the cart. These little fish. Me and second uncle got this. Uncle Yukai was torn. He wanted to jump in, but someone had to protect the merchandise. He grabbed the butcher knife and positioned himself by the pork. His expression said, I'm watching. If things go south, I'm chopping someone. I wasn't worried at all. Previous life, orphan. No parents, no backup, no safety net. I'd been fighting since I could make a fist. Street brawls, alley fights, bare knuckle, armed. You name the venue, I'd thrown hands there. My combat resume was extensive. I sold the compound bow back to the mall and quietly bought an electric stun knuckle. Slipped it onto my fist inside my sleeve. Modern technology versus ancient thugs? Not even fair. Manager Wu's 2 servers, Afu and Agwe, came back out with wooden clubs. So the lineup was 2 servers, 2 henchmen, versus me and second uncle. Second uncle was pushing 40, but built. Decades of farming had turned him into a physical specimen. He wound up his whole body and cracked Agaway across the butt with his stick. Agaway screamed and stopped in his tracks. Afu saw an opening and swung at second uncle's head. Uncle raised his stick and blocked it clean. The short guy came at me with a kick. I sidestepped, and in that split second when our bodies crossed paths, I drove my elbow hard into the side of his skull. Thunk, bone on bone. Thunk, body on ground. One move. One down. Next, I locked eyes with the tall henchman and slowly grinned, showing all my teeth. This was the guy? The one who swung that last club strike on original me's skull. The one who killed me. I remembered it clearly from the stolen memories, and now I was looking at him with what I can only describe as snake energy. He shivered. Couldn't explain why. Something deep in his lizard brain was screaming at him to run. But then his ego kicked in. He'd already killed me once, right? Confidence restored. He pulled out a short club from his belt and started approaching slowly. I rolled my neck. Crack. Crack. This body had good bones. Tall, long limbs, solid frame. Original me just never exercised because he was allergic to effort. Thankfully, the system had buffed my physical stats, so dealing with these clowns should be a breeze. Zhao Fuguei was grinning on the sidelines. Turns out tall guy, Wang Debao, was a professional bodyguard his daddy had hired at premium price. The man was supposedly a fugitive wanted for killing someone in another province, now working as the Zhao family's personal attack dog. Fast, vicious, experienced. Manager Wu had this slimy little smirk going. He knew Debao's reputation. Today the annoying farm boy was going to get dismantled. Wu Zhiro tucked her hair behind her ear and pretended to look bored while secretly being thrilled. Two men fighting over her. What a wonderful day to be a fish pond operator. Ma'am, nobody here is fighting over you. One of us is fighting for his life, and the other one is just a violent sociopath. Second uncle wanted to help me, but Afu and Agaway had him pinned down. He'd already taken 2 club strikes himself. Couldn't break free. Debao decided he was in range. He dropped his weight, coiled up, and swung that club at my head in a vicious horizontal sweep. I ducked. Then, oops, my foot slipped. I stumbled. I was going down. Ha ha ha. Zhao Fuguei exploded with laughter. One exchange, and this trash was already face-planting. The show was over before it even started. Wu Zhiro's lip curled. This was the guy who was talking so tough 5 minutes ago? All mouth, no substance. Uncle Yukai grabbed the butcher knife, murder in his eyes, and started shoving through the crowd toward me. Everyone reacted differently, but all of it happened in about 1 second. Because I wasn't falling. The moment before my body hit the ground, my left hand planted on the dirt. My body launched upward. I flipped inverted, head down, feet up, and my right foot rocketed skyward and cracked into the side of Wang Debao's neck. His brain rattled. He staggered backward. I landed, took 2 running steps, and launched into the air. First kick, empty, building momentum. Body spun. Second rotation, raw physics converting into pure destructive force. My heel came around like a wrecking ball and detonated against the side of Debao's skull. The spinning back kick was so violent, so clean, that I stuck the landing with a full aerial flip while Debao stood there with empty eyes, perfectly vertical for about 1.5 seconds. Boom. He hit the ground like a felled tree. The sound echoed through the street like a war drum. Every mouth was open. Every eye was wide. Nobody cared that the gold medal bodyguard lost. What broke their brains was how. That combination, the fake stumble into a handspring kick into a spinning aerial heel strike with a gymnastic landing, looked like something out of a dance performance. Or in modern terms, that was the most disrespectful highlight reel any of them had ever witnessed. I dusted off my hands, flicked some dirt off my shirt, didn't even glance at Debao's body, turned to face Zhao Fuguei. His legs were shaking so hard his knees were doing a little dance of their own. You, what do you want? Don't come any closer. If you do, you'll what? I'll run. He spun around and bolted. Full sprint. Arms pumping. Robe flapping. Zero dignity remaining. Credit where it's due. This man had zero shame and excellent survival instincts. No wasting time with empty threats. Just immediate tactical retreat. Honestly, I kind of respected it. See, ever since I transmigrated, I'd had this knot of frustration building in my chest. The poverty, the family trauma, the broken body, the unfairness of it all. And maybe some leftover rage from original me's soul, refusing to accept the injustice of being beaten to death over a girl who was using him. Today, all of that came pouring out. I wasn't thinking about consequences, wasn't calculating risks, wasn't worrying about what a rich family could do to a poor farmer. I was just unleashed. I chased him. Young Master Zhao? Where are you going in such a hurry? His spine went rigid at the sound of my voice right behind him. Cold sweat was pouring down his face. He didn't dare answer. If he opened his mouth, the fear would leak out and his legs would collapse. He ducked his head and pumped his legs harder. And the man was actually fast. He started pulling away from me. His heart leaped with hope. Then he heard me say something strange. Something he didn't understand. Thunderlight fist. Thunder what? What is that even? A bolt of agony hit his back. Then the pain vanished. What replaced it was an electric tingling that spread through his entire body. A sensation that was somehow simultaneously the worst and most confusing thing he'd ever felt. The stunned knuckles had made contact. His legs gave out, and he crumpled to his knees like a puppet with cut strings. That was me. Stunned knuckles. One punch to the back, flipped the switch, and Zhao Fugue experienced electricity for the first time in human history on this continent. What sorcery is this? He was kneeling there, completely unable to move, eyes bulging with terror. I chuckled. I'd recommend you stop messing with me. When I snap, even I'm scared of myself. Here's the thing. The night after I killed the boar, I'd noticed the system mall had upgraded. It wasn't a knockoff shopping app anymore. The hot weapons section had been unlocked. Guns, tasers, things that shouldn't exist for another several centuries. Having that kind of firepower in a world of sticks and swords? It was like being a cheat code god walking among mortals. I felt invincible. I dusted off my hands and turned to leave. Then Zhao Fugue made a catastrophic mistake. Your family is from Datong village, right? He hissed through clenched teeth. You have a sister. And a little brother. He was threatening my family. My eyebrow went up. Oh. Today we're really choosing death, are we? I pulled a portable high-voltage stun baton from inside my shirt and leaned down to look him right in the face. My voice was calm. Friendly, even. Are you ready? Are ready for what? His entire body was covered in goosebumps. Your brain seems a little broken. I'm going to give you some electroshock therapy. I smiled at him. A warm, genuine, sincere smile. The kind a doctor gives you before delivering very, very bad news. Survival instinct is a powerful thing. This man somehow broke through the paralysis, planted his hands on the ground, and started frantically crab-walking backward. Get away from the crazy person. Get away from the crazy person. I took 2 steps forward and pressed the stun baton against his forehead. Flipped the switch. It's happening again, was all he managed before his mouth froze open and his entire body went rigid, vibrating like a tuning fork. Ah, beautiful. I clicked the switch off. He collapsed like a deflated balloon. Boneless. Unconscious. Done. I slipped the baton back into the mall inventory without anyone seeing, turned around, and found every single person on the street had turned to stone. Even second uncle and the restaurant goons had stopped mid-fight to stare in my direction. Zhao Fugue had sprinted a good 50 meters away before I caught him. Nobody had seen what I did to him out there, but they'd all heard his screams. Those slaughterhouse-quality, pig-being-murdered screams that echoed down the entire block. The sound of people nervously swallowing was everywhere. A kid started crying, and his mother slapped a hand over his mouth, terrified of attracting my attention. I strolled back toward the crowd with a casual smile. People parted like I was Moses, and they were the Red Sea. Being an unhinged menace felt incredible. You killed him. You killed Zhao Gongzi. Wu Zhiro peeked out from behind her trembling father. Relax, he's just unconscious. He'll wake up in a couple days. A couple days? She said that like it was supposed to be reassuring. But hearing he wasn't dead, her courage regenerated immediately. She stepped out from behind Manager Wu and went cold. Even if he's alive, you assaulted him and his 2 men in broad daylight. They're all seriously injured and unconscious. I'm going to report this to the magistrate and have you thrown in prison. I laughed. Actually laughed. Miss Wu, your ability to twist facts is truly world-class. Twist facts? Everyone here saw you beat them. Let me get this straight. I'm a poor, skinny student from the countryside. Do you really think I'd voluntarily pick a fight with the most powerful bully in the county? I turned to the crowd. Brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, was I not peacefully selling my pork when this man showed up threatening to kill me? That's right. The tough lady who'd bought the boar part earlier jumped in first. The kid was minding his own business. Zhao Fugui came looking for trouble. That Zhao Fugui uses his daddy's money to terrorize everyone. He finally bit off more than he could chew. Serves him right. He ate at old Li's wonton stand and didn't pay. Then beat up old Li's little boy. He harassed widow Zhou who sells tofu. Then blamed her and said Shi seduced him. She tried to drown herself in the river. The crowd erupted. Everyone was pulling out their personal Zhao Fugui horror story. With the bully unconscious on the ground 50 meters away, people's courage was suddenly at an all-time high. Plus, the county magistrate was famously honest and fair. If this actually went to court, Zhao Fugui would not come out on top. I cupped my fist and bowed to the crowd, then turned back to Wu Zhuro with a grin. See? The people have spoken. I was attacked by criminals and defended myself. Nothing more. She glared at the angry mob and ground her teeth. I only know what I saw. Zhao Gongzi is beaten unconscious. The magistrate will decide the rest. Wait, are you sleeping with him? I gasped. How dare you? Her face went nuclear red. To be fair to her fishpond management, she actually hadn't slept with Zhao Fugui. She wasn't stupid. Once a man gets what he wants, he stops trying. Besides, Zhao Gongzi might not even be her biggest fish. No? Then why are you defending him so hard? Twisting the truth for him? Sounds suspicious. I'm stating facts. Say that word one more time, and I'll add defaming an innocent woman to the charges. Which word? Oh, you mean sleeping? Stop. Before she could combust, I switched to my serious voice and leaned in close. Listen, you might want to wait until Zhao Gongzi wakes up before you decide about reporting anything. What I did. At worst, it's mutual combat. A few paddle smacks and I walk free. I let that sink in. But Zhao Gongzi publicly admitted he sent an armed hitman to murder me. His exact words. In front of all these witnesses, I emphasized hitman very carefully. I almost died from that attack. My entire village can testify. Attempted murder versus a street fight. Your family runs a business. You know how to calculate risk. Do the math. Is going to court really in his best interest? I kept my smile loose. Carefree. Like I had absolutely nothing to lose. Truth was, I knew this world's legal system wasn't exactly modern. If this went to trial, no magistrate was going to stick his neck out for a poor kid against a rich family. But Zhao Fugui had handed me a gift. He'd confessed to ordering the hit right in front of a crowd. That was leverage. And if none of this worked? If they insisted on coming after me and my family? Well, the mall sold some very interesting things now. Wu Zhuro bit her lower lip. This man, how did he change like this? He used to stutter around her, trip over his own words, turn red just for my contact. Now he was standing in front of her covered in other people's unconsciousness, cracking jokes, threatening rich people, and winning arguments with a smile. When did he become so bad? The crowd finally scattered, and it was time to count our loot. I hadn't brought scissors or a silver scale, so I'd only accepted copper coins. The bamboo basket on the ox cart was overflowing with copper like a pirate's treasure chest. Second uncle's hands were literally trembling as he counted. Almost 40 years on this earth, and he'd never touched this much money at once. Uncle Yukai helped string them into sets of 1,000. His hands were shaking too. The money wasn't his, but he'd helped earn it, and that was enough to make his blood pressure spike. 6 full strings, plus 158 loose coins. I grabbed one whole string and held it out. Here, uncle. This is yours. Second uncle looked at the money like I'd handed him a live snake. Little Yuan. I can't take this much. That pork leg was 30-something pounds. That's about 1 string of coins. Fair price, but you gave me the leg. I just helped carry the pig down. That's not worth. I put on my serious face. You'd be getting the meat whether you helped carry it or not. That leg was to honor our elders. Don't make it about money. He tried to refuse again, so I went full stern nephew mode. I gave that leg to the old house for everyone to share. Since you sold it instead of cooking it, take the money back and let Grandma decide how to split it. Don't waste my gesture. That finally shut him up. Good point. It was a family gift, not his personal call. I counted out the remaining 158 coins. Kept 100 for myself. scooped up the last 58 and shoved them at Uncle Yukai. He pointed at himself. For me? I nodded. During the fight, I'd seen this man grab a butcher knife and charge toward 4 armed men to protect me. A farmer with an ox cart, ready to throw down against professional thugs. That kind of loyalty? You pay for that. No, no, no. I can't just take your money for nothing. He waved both hands. Nothing? You worked the scale for me all morning. I don't even know how to use that thing. I grabbed his hand and forced the coins in. Uncle Yukai stared at the money. His real name meant, has wealth. But his whole life had been the opposite. Sick mother bedridden, wife too frail for heavy labor, 5 kids to feed. That old ox was inherited from his father, and the 2 coins per passenger business was the only thing keeping his family from starving completely. Every single coin mattered. Every single coin was hard to earn. He knew that better than anyone. And now the village pariah, Gu number 3, the boy everyone despised, had just handed him more money than he'd make in weeks. Suddenly, he remembered something. He dug into his shirt and pulled out a small cloth pouch. Inside, the 18 coins second uncle had paid this morning for the cart. Little Yuan, let me refund the ride. He placed his 58 coins on the cart, then emptied the pouch and held out the 18 coins to me. I almost burst out laughing. Uncle, my man, those are the same coins. You could have just counted 18 out of the 58. The math doesn't change because they came from different pockets. I pushed his hand back. He insisted. Uncle Yukai, stop. 18 coins. Please. I half closed my eyes, tilted my chin up, grabbed 2 strings of coins in one hand, and shook them so they clinked and jangled dramatically. I'm loaded. Don't insult me with pocket change. I stuck one leg out and started bouncing it up and down, full street thug energy. Maximum swagger. The exact same insufferable pose original me used when he was showing off in the village. Except this time I actually had the money to back it up. I don't need your 18 coins. I was bouncing that leg so hard the ox cart was vibrating. Uncle Yotsai's mouth twitched. He silently put the 18 coins back in his pouch. We decided to hit the grain shop. On the way, we passed a money exchange, and second uncle suggested I convert my 5 strings into silver. 5,000 copper coins was 65 pounds of metal hanging off an ox cart. A bit conspicuous. I weighed 1 string out of curiosity. 13 pounds. Times 5. 65 pounds of coins on my body. Yeah, okay, maybe walking around town carrying my own body weight in copper wasn't exactly subtle. Inside the exchange, I got a 5-tail silver ingot. It looked nothing like the pretty silver boats from TV dramas. The thing was lumpy, kind of concave in the middle, and the bottom was covered in tiny air bubbles that triggered my trypophobia, so bad I got goosebumps. I swapped it for 5 one-tail mini ingots instead. Little bun-shaped things. Way easier to carry. 65 pounds down to a handful of silver buns in my pocket. Much better. At the grain shop, prices were ugly. Millet, 4 coins per pound. Rice, 10 coins per pound. Uncle Yukai nearly choked. It was 3 coins a pound when I came in January. Last year it was only 2. What happened? The shop boy didn't even look up from refilling the grain bins. That was January prices. Year before we had a freeze. Last year not enough rain. This year floods and drought. Bad harvest means less grain. Less grain means higher prices. Buy now if you can. Might be 6 coins a pound by tomorrow. Shut it, the shopkeeper barked. The boy shrank his neck and went quiet. Second uncle and Uncle Yukai exchanged worried looks. All the joy from our big pork sale day drained right out of their faces. I didn't care. I had them all. Grain prices could triple and it wouldn't touch me. But I needed a legitimate cover for where my food came from. Hey buddy, 20 pounds of millet, 10 pounds of white rice, and 5 pounds of white flour. The shop boy perked up like a hunting dog spotting a rabbit. Mountain folk usually came in, bought 3 pounds of millet with whatever copper they'd scraped together, and shuffled out. 3 dirt-covered farmers ordering white rice and white flour? He'd clearly misjudged us. He dropped everything and started scooping. Second uncle opened his mouth to say something, then closed it, then opened it again, then closed it. I could practically read his thoughts. Little Yuan has never had money before, and now he's going crazy. White rice at 10 coins a pound. Our family can't afford that. A whole family eating rice would cost dozens of coins per day. And white flour. I'm almost 40 years old, and I've never even tasted white flour. That's for rich city people. He almost said something, almost reached out to stop me. But then he looked at his nephew, the same kid who used to steal grain for booze money, now running a business, sharing profits, honoring elders, and swallowed his objections. The kid had changed in a lot of good ways. If he still had a tiny spending problem, well, nobody's perfect. From the grain shop, I dragged second uncle and Uncle Yukai on what can only be described as a shopping spree. First stop, the soy sauce and vinegar shop. This stuff was the real deal, naturally brewed for 180 days. No chemicals, no shortcuts, no science and technology, flavor. After years of eating factory-produced garbage in my previous life, one whiff of this and my taste buds had a spiritual awakening. Next, I needed cooking spices. Tried several general stores, nothing. Then it hit me, pharmacy. Sure enough, the medicine shop had cinnamon bark and Sichuan peppercorns. Cloves existed here but were called chicken tongue fragrance and cost a fortune. Black pepper was imported by foreign merchants and priced like it was made of diamonds. And a lot of spices simply didn't exist in this world. Star anise? Nope. Chili peppers? Never heard of them. This world's cuisine was running on like 40% of the available flavor spectrum. The pharmacist was getting annoyed with me browsing without buying much, so I grabbed an ounce of cinnamon bark and bounced. Then I thought about Big Sis. Her clothes had patches on top of patches. She owned exactly 2 outfits, both falling apart. She was 18, an age where girls should be wearing pretty things and feeling good about themselves. Instead, she was walking around in fabric that had been repaired so many times, it was basically a quilt with sleeves. Everyone at home was dressed badly, but Big Sis, being a young woman, made it hit different. Mall clothes would be way too modern and suspicious. The fabric alone would raise questions, so I headed for the cloth shop. Second uncle and Uncle Yukai had been following me around town, watching me spend money like water, and their eyes were getting wider by the minute. At this rate, those 5 tails weren't going to last the week. But they kept quiet. It was my money, not their circus. Silk was obviously out of the question, too expensive, and even if I bought it, my family would be too scared to wear it. After comparing options, I went with hemp linen, which was mid to upper range at 450 coins per bolt. One bolt made 5 to 8 outfits. 5 family members, 2 outfits each. One bolt wasn't enough. I bought a bolt of dark blue, practical for farm life. Hides dirt. I almost bought a bright-colored bolt for Big Sis and Mom. Reached for it. Hesitated. Put it back. Not yet. Too flashy would attract gossip in the village. Grabbed a bolt of black instead. Black and blue. Both work for men and women. The shop owner was so happy he threw in a bunch of colorful fabric scraps for free. Patches and decorative bits. Nice guy? Could I get 1 foot of coarse hemp cloth? Black? Second uncle mumbled, looking embarrassed. His family's clothes were just as bad as ours. 3 years of patches on patches. A full bolt was impossible, but 1 foot of cloth meant his wife could cut some patches and maybe make 2 pairs of shoes. The owner smiled big. Normally 1 foot costs 15 coins retail, but since you're with the big spender here, I'll give you the wholesale rate, 12 coins. I'll take 1 foot too. Uncle Yukai jumped in. 3 coins saved was 3 coins earned. Then I remembered 4 eggs and his bottomless stomach. Hit the pastry shop. Bought a bunch of cakes and sweets. I was genuinely fascinated by all the shops here. Kept wandering into random stores and spending coins on random stuff. Couldn't help it. Everything was new and interesting. I bought a big bamboo backpack and stuffed everything inside. 2 bolts of cloth were too big to hide, but all the small stuff got buried in the basket. Perfect for smuggling in mall products later without anyone noticing. The ox cart rolled back into the village, and immediately the gossip squad activated. Would you look at goo number 3? 2 bolts of cloth. He thinks he's rich, got lucky finding a dead pig, and now he's lost his mind. Who buys cloth when it's not even a holiday? And hemp linen, the fancy kind, with his spending habits, that pork money will be gone in a week. Remember his daddy's death pension? He blew through every coin of it. Their voices were Jewish loud enough for me to hear from the cart. I pretended to be deaf. These village aunties could talk paint off a wall, but I had exactly 0 interest in engaging. Look at him acting like some big shot. PDUH, they were actually mad that I didn't react. These women wanted a fight, and I wouldn't give them one. The audacity of me just sitting there peacefully. Before I even got through the gate, I spotted 4 eggs crouching in the yard, collecting dried purslane from a bamboo tray. I quietly set everything down behind the gate wall. Then I roared, for EGGS. The kid's whole body jolted like he'd been hit by lightning. But then he recognized my voice and progress. He didn't run. He actually came toward me. These past 2 days of not being beaten had done wonders for his confidence. He looked up at me with shiny eyes. Third bro, you're back. Did anyone buy the pork? Obviously. When your third bro sells something, it sells. His face lit up. How much money did you get? Guess. 800 coins. He went with what he thought was an outrageously high number. I shook my head. 500, smaller. Cautious. I shook my head. 100? His little face was crumbling by the second. Okay, enough torture. I reached into my shirt and pulled out 3 one-tail silver mini ingots. Tossed them to him. Quick math on my end. 5,100 coins total earnings minus the 58 I gave Uncle Yukai. Spent 255 on grain, 900 on cloth, 60 on pastries, 35 on cinnamon, 8 on the backpack, and 53 on random stuff. Total expenses, 1,311. Remaining, 3,789 coins, of which 3,000 were in silver, and the rest was a mix of coin change and small silver bits. For Eggs caught the silver nuggets with fumbling hands, stared at them, and tilted his head. Third bro, where'd you find these rocks? Rocks. This child had never seen silver in his life. And to be fair, silver in circulation gets tarnished and dark, so they did kind of look like weird pebbles. I wanted to give this kid a jaw-dropping moment, and instead he thought I was handing him gravel. Black lines covered my forehead. I snatched the silver back from his hands, reached into my bag, pulled out a small cloth pouch, and threw it at him. For Eggs saw my face and had no idea what he'd done wrong. He swallowed nervously, then caught the pouch mid-air with a little jump. Heavy, jingling. His eyes went wide. He knew that sound. His hands were trembling as he opened the pouch. Copper coins. Lots and lots and lots of copper coins. For Eggs stared at the pouch of copper coins with his mouth hanging wide open. A few days ago, third bro was beaten half to death and Mom said we didn't have a single coin left. She had to beg her own family for money to save me. Back then, this kid thought the whole household was covered in dark clouds with no way out. And now, third bro wakes up, becomes a different person, stops taking things from the house, and starts bringing money home? He stood there frozen for a long moment. Then he slapped himself across the face. Smack. A red handprint bloomed on his cheek immediately. And then he grinned. It's real. My heart cracked and laughed at the same time. I ruffled his hair. Why are you hitting yourself? You little weirdo. For Eggs just giggled like an idiot. Second bro came back from hauling firewood. For Eggs sprinted over, shoved the coin bag right in his face, holding it open as wide as possible like a kid showing off a frog he caught. Second bro, look. Third bro made this much money. Second bro glanced at the coins. Not bad, but half a pig should have been worth way more than this. His mental calculation was instant. Little Zhouyuan probably blew most of it at that restaurant again, chasing the owner's daughter, pouring money into that bottomless pit like he always does. But the fact that he'd brought any money home at all, that was genuinely new. Usually he'd empty his pockets in the city and come back demanding more. Second bro smiled. Actual progress. Where's Mom and Big Sis? I asked. Hadn't seen either of them since I got back. Right here, Mom's voice came from the gate. She and Big Sis walked in together, dusty and tired. Grasshoppers got into the wheat field. Your sister and I spent all afternoon catching them. My stomach dropped. Floods first, then drought. Now grasshoppers appearing in the fields. This was the classic prequel to a full-blown locust plague. I needed to start planning for this, but everyone else still thought it was just a few random bugs. Mommy, look. Third bro's money. For Eggs shattered my dark thoughts by shoving the coin bag at Mom. Mom had the exact same reaction as second bro. Sure, most of the pork money was probably gone, wasted at some restaurant. But little Zhouyuan brought money home? To her? She was genuinely moved. I was standing there completely confused. I'd only pulled out like 200 coins. Why was everyone acting like I'd handed them a winning lottery ticket? Did I price the pig wrong? Was 200 coins actually a lot? Was the pig only worth 200 coins? I was having a genuine crisis of confidence with 3 silver tails burning a hole in my pocket. Mom. I also have some silver. I scratched my head and opened my palm. Mom mechanically reached out and took the pieces. Her face went blank. Everyone crowded around. Several chunks of silver sat in Mom's palm. They didn't know exact values, but they knew silver beat copper the way a tiger beats a rabbit. These bits are worth about 500 coins total, I explained. Now the math was clicking. 500 in silver plus the copper in the bag. That was 700 or 800 coins. We went from zero to actual savings in one day. Everyone's breathing got heavier. Their deadbeat money-burning garbage son had just reversed his entire reputation in 48 hours. Third bro. So this is what silver looks like. I've never seen real silver before. For Eggs grabbed a piece and held it up to the light, eyes sparkling. Kid, I literally threw you 3 whole silver ingots 5 minutes ago, and you called them rocks. I gave him a death glare. He didn't notice. Mom, keep all of this. Use it for household stuff. I smiled. Mom looked me up and down like she was checking if I'd been replaced by a different human. This was the first time in his entire life that this child had ever given her money instead of taking it. You want me to hold it? Yeah, you know how I am. If I keep it, I'll just blow it all. It's not even safe with me. Good. 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 My little Zhouyuan grew up. I'll save this for your future wedding. Mom was wiping tears and nodding like a bobblehead. So, I also have 3 more tails. You should take those too. I should have just pulled everything out at once. This installment plan was putting my family through an emotional roller coaster. And honestly, it was all 4 Eggs' fault. If he hadn't called solid silver, weird rocks, I wouldn't have hesitated on the reveal. I glared at him. He stared back innocently, completely unaware of his crimes. 3 tails. Everyone's jaws dropped through the floor. Mom stared at the silver in her trembling hands. Aside from Dad's military death pension, which original me had incinerated in record time, she had never held this much money in her entire life. And this silver was earned by her son, her actual son, the one who used to steal grain for beer money. She was overjoyed. Tears were flooding down her face. Big Sis and Second Bro each took one of her arms. Big Sis pulled out a cloth and started dabbing Mom's cheeks. I had absolutely no idea what to do during emotional family moments. My previous life was an orphanage, zero training for this. I stood there looking left, looking right, desperately searching for an exit from the feelings. Then I saw 4 Eggs pick up a silver ingot and shove it in his mouth. Smack. Palm to the back of his head. Are you so hungry you're eating money now? I heard silver is soft. You bite it, and it leaves a tooth mark. I wanted to try, he whimpered. This silver has passed through 1,000 people's hands. It's filthy. Why would you put it in your mouth? But silver is precious. People keep it in treasure boxes. How can it be dirty? Oh, this kid wanted to debate me. You just said silver is precious. So tell me, if you had silver, where would you hide it? For Egg's imagination activated like a search engine. Under the bed. No, wait, that's not safe. A hole in the wall. No, someone might find it. What if you need to carry silver when you go out? His brain went into overdrive. Inside my shirt. No, pickpockets would grab it. Tied in my hair bun. No, it'd fall out when I walk. He thought hard. Then his face lit up, and he slapped his palm. I'll put it in my SHOE. Beat. No, wait, that would hurt my feet. Beat. His eyes went wide with sudden inspiration. The light of genius shining from within. I'll sew the silver into my underwear. He announced this like he'd just solved world hunger. The most perfect hiding spot in human history. Completely secure. Nobody would ever look there. I looked at 4 Eggs with my best. You realize what you just said, face. Second Bro was biting his lip, trying not to explode. Big Sis pretended she'd gone temporarily deaf. For Eggs scratched his head. Then the gears turned. The underwear is right next to his other 2 eggs, which means if other people also hid silver in their underwear. He slowly lowered the silver away from his mouth. But I wasn't done with him yet. I cleared my throat. Let me tell you something interesting. The soldiers who guard the Imperial Silver Vault get strip-searched every time their shift ends. Completely naked inspection. To prevent theft. For Egg's eyes went wide. Did anyone still manage to steal silver? Big Sis and Second Bro leaned in too. Story time with Third Bro. I gave 4 Eggs my most evil grin. Oh, they found a way. It's called the Valley Road method. What's a valley road? Like digging a tunnel? Ahem. The valley road is your butt. For Eggs blinked. They shoved the silver up there and smuggled it out. That's why a piece of silver is called a ding. Same sound as the word for bottom. For Eggs swallowed hard. Something terrible was connecting in his brain. He looked at the silver in his hand. The silver that had been in circulation. passed through countless hands. And possibly countless. He threw the silver back at Mom like it was on fire. Second bro's face was purple from holding and laughter. Big sis was red as a tomato. Mom fake slapped my arm. Stop teasing Four Eggs. Four Eggs was frantically wiping his hands on his clothes like he'd touched toxic waste. So, still want to bite test the silver? I asked innocently. His head shook so fast it blurred. He looked at the silver with horror and backed away a full 3 steps. Mom, put the silver away, I said as the laughter died down. Mom nodded happily, but didn't move. She just stood there, palm open, silver sitting in her hand, smiling at me. I looked around. Big sis. Second bro. Four Eggs. All of them staring at me with that same expectant look. It took me a second, then it hit me. They thought I had more. That's it. There's nothing left. I gave you everything. I jumped like someone stepped on my tail. Nobody looked disappointed, honestly. It's just that I'd kept pulling surprise after surprise out of my pockets like a magician, and their brains had developed a Pavlovian response. Every time I said, also, they expected another reveal. Mom tucked the silver into the coin pouch and pressed it against her chest like a baby. I closed the gate and revealed the pile of goods I'd stashed behind the wall. Everyone froze. Again, the silver was already more wealth than this family had seen in years. But seeing actual stuff, physical goods stacked up in a pile, that hit completely different. Four Eggs lost his mind. Whoa, so much cloth. Third bro, are you getting new clothes? Not a holiday, not New Year. Why buy this much cloth? And it's hemp linen. Good heavens, how much did this cost? Mom was stroking the fabric with one hand over her heart. Poor families were the cheapest rough cloth available, patched and repatched for years. New clothes only happened in the absolute best harvest years, right before New Year. Second bro looked at the cloth from a distance. Didn't touch it. Didn't feel like it was his place. Big sis's eyes were shining. Every girl loves pretty things. Her clothes were falling apart, but always clean. Even her patches were sewn in neat, perfect rows. She took pride in the only thing she could control. But then her sparkle faded almost instantly. New clothes meant new clothes for little Zhouyuan. And eventually, when he threw them away, she'd alter his hand-me-downs into something for herself. Just like always. She was already calculating which of my old shirts would become her next outfit. And that thought made her happy. A slightly newer used shirt was the best she dared hope for. I reached over, grabbed her arm, and pulled her closer. Big sis, how many outfits can one bolt make? She thought for a moment. About 5 long robes, with enough scraps left for 2 short tops. I nodded. 2 bolts. If we made different sizes instead of all large robes, 5 people times 3 outfits each was totally doable. Big sis, the cloth is yours to work with. She touched the fabric gently. All long robes. Or should I make some undergarments? Why would you make all long robes? Don't you want a skirt? She froze. A skirt? Made from this new fabric? It was dawning on her. This cloth wasn't just for me. There was fabric in here for her. She looked at me so carefully, so cautiously, like one wrong move and the dream would shatter. My chest ached. I kept my smile steady. Big sis, you and Mom get first priority. 3 skirt outfits each. Both Mom and Big sis looked like I'd slapped them with a fish. Mom recovered first. What does this old woman need 3 outfits for? 1 each for the kids. Save the rest for winter clothes. You're 40, Mom. That's not old. Trust me. Put on new clothes and you'll look 10 years younger. She glared at me, but her heart was doing backflips. I could tell. Big sis started stammering. Little Zhouyuan, I don't need skirts. Your old clothes, I can just alter those like before. That's fine. Really, my nose stung. I pushed the words out through a tight throat. This time, you make your clothes first. You put on new outfits before you even think about the rest of us. She waved her hands, about to argue, but I kept going. You're never wearing my hand-me-downs again. When winter comes, I'm buying you more fabric for a padded jacket. You're going to be the most beautiful big sister in the entire world. It came out like a promise. Like something carved in stone. Big sis stared at me. This brother who'd changed overnight. Who was suddenly fierce about protecting her, feeding her, clothing her. Her eyes didn't blink. The mist gathered slowly, then spilled over, tracing quiet lines down her cheeks. Turns out, being cared about feels like this. I grabbed a scrap of cloth from the basket and went to wipe Big Sis's tears. Here's the problem. 2 lifetimes of existence, and I had never once tenderly wiped someone's face. My technique was, shall we say, closer to plastering a wall than comforting a human being. I smeared tears and snot across her entire face like I was grouting bathroom tiles. Big Sis stopped being moved real fast. She stomped her foot, snatched the cloth out of my hand, grabbed a wooden basin, scooped water, and went to wash her face in the corner. I coughed awkwardly. What's wrong with Big Sis? Why is she washing her face at this hour? For Eggs popped up like a professor. Third bro, when you wipe someone's tears, you don't smear them. You fold the cloth into a point and go like this, gently, lightly. He pulled out another scrap and demonstrated with the confidence of a man who'd written a doctoral thesis on tear management. Well, look at you, little Four Eggs. Quite the ladies' man, aren't we? Obviously, he put his hands on his hips. Peak smugness. Third bro, what's a ladies' man? He saw my expression change and immediately shoved the cloth back into the basket. Smart kid. Learning fast. I pulled out the basket and started unloading. First came all the little fabric scraps the cloth shop owner had thrown in for free. Dozens of colorful pieces, not very big, but Mom was thrilled. Big Sis, fresh-faced from her emergency face wash, came over and practically vibrated with excitement. Different colored scraps were perfect for decorating clothes. 20 pounds of millet. I hauled out the straw-woven grain sack with some effort. 20 pounds? Everyone gasped like I'd pulled out a gold bar. When you've been hungry for most of your life, nothing feels safer than looking at a bag of grain. Second bro rushed over and cradled the sack in his arms like a newborn baby. Gentle, careful, like the millet might break. 10 pounds of white rice. White rice. You'd have thought I announced I'd bought the moon. In this world, white rice was what rich landlords and city officials ate. Regular farming families? They'd never even seen it up close. Mom opened the little straw pouch. Each grain was plump, translucent, absolutely beautiful. She looked at the rice the way people look at jewels. And 5 pounds of white flour. Not much, just 5. White flour too. Their brains had officially shut down. Everyone was standing around with glazed eyes and slack jaws. The dreamlike feeling was back in full force. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I was already planning dinner. We've got pork at home, right? I'll need some dough tonight. We're making dumplings. For Eggs came back online first. Really? Pork dumplings? Real pork dumplings? This child had eaten dumplings exactly once in his entire life. One New Year's Eve. The family had to eat nothing but dried wild vegetables for 10 days to save enough for that meal. And those dumplings were vegetable-filled, not a speck of meat. Yet that single plate of veggie dumplings remained the most delicious thing in his memory bank. The absolute peak of his culinary existence. It's just dumplings, kid. Stick with me, and I'll make you eat dumplings till you puke. What kind of family eats dumplings till they puke? Everyone figured I was just hyping up for Eggs. Sweet words, not to be taken literally. But their hearts were soaring anyway. Life was getting better, wasn't it? For Eggs, of course, took it 100% seriously. He shook his head solemnly. Don't worry, third bro. Even if I eat dumplings every meal, I will never puke. I promise. Everyone cracked up. I side-eyed him. Oh? You love dumplings that much? Then you don't need any of this green bean cake. Save your stomach space for later. I opened the pastry box. Several kinds of fancy cakes and sweets were nestled inside. For Egg's size went so round they nearly fell out of his skull. He swallowed so loud the neighbors probably heard it. I picked up a piece and handed it to Mom. Try this green bean cake, Mom. The shop owner said it's their best seller. Mom took a bite. Nodded over and over. So good. 40-something years old, and this was her first city pastry. She chewed so slowly, savoring every molecule of sweetness, refusing to swallow because that would mean it was over. I picked up another piece and handed it to Big Sis. This one's called date paste puff. She took it like it was made of glass. The puff was beautiful. White rectangular shell with 4 red characters stamped on top. What does it say? Date paste puff is only 3 characters, but there are 4 here. She studied the little red stamp. Nobody in this house could read except me. I pointed at each character one by one. Date, paste, square, puff. See this one? Square, like when we say square or round. And Erinyo's wife's surname is Fong, same character. For Eggs and second bro crowded in to look, genuinely fascinated. For Eggs was drooling and learning. So that's how you write square. It looks pretty easy, reading is easy. Starting tomorrow, I'll teach you characters for 1 hour every day. Yes. Yes. For Eggs clapped his hands. Hee hee. Then I'll be a scholar too. I turned to the other two. Big sis and second bro, you're joining the class. 1 student or 10, same effort for me. Big sis's eyes lit up like fireworks. Did she hear that right? Third brother was going to teach her to read? In this world, barely any boys got to study. She'd never even heard of a girl learning to read. She was trembling as she brought the date paste puff to her lips and took a tiny bite. Sweet. So sweet. Her eyes curved into happy crescents and the joy was pouring off her like sunlight. Then second bro scratched his head. Little Zhouyuan, I'll skip the lessons. You don't want to learn? It's not that. He waved his hands. There's so much work to do. Hauling water, chopping wood, weeding, catching bugs. I don't have time to sit around learning characters. There it was. The thing he never said out loud, but lived by every single day. He was adopted. He knew his place. His job was to work. To repay the debt of being taken in. Not to sit at a table learning to read like he belonged there. Big sis caught it too, and her excitement died instantly. What was she thinking, dreaming about reading? She was an abandoned girl picked up to bring luck. That wasn't someone who got to learn things. I felt the shift in the air like a cold wind. I stopped smiling. Second bro, this is our home. All of ours. We carry it together. There's no rule that says all the hard work falls on you. He didn't respond. Just stood there. Remember this. You were never an outsider. You are the eldest son of this family. You are my second brother. Real brother. Full stop. Second bro's face didn't change. But his arms around the millet bag went rigid. His knuckles turned white from gripping so hard. For years, original me had reminded him he was a parasite vine, clinging to the family tree and sucking nutrients that weren't his. He never argued back, because in his mind, it was true. He was adopted. He was the vine. He'd survived because this family let him. So he worked. Silently. Endlessly. Got hit. Got cursed. Got mocked. Never complained. Because that was his fate and he accepted it. And then I told him he was my real brother. That he belonged here. His mouth stretched into a smile. Tears rolled down at the same time. Smiling and crying simultaneously, the human face was not designed for this combination. Mom started crying too. Big sis was already a waterfall. The whole yard was basically flooding. I grabbed Big sis and pulled her close. Big sis, are you jealous of second bro? No need to cry this hard. I respect you too, you know? Even more than second bro actually. She burst out laughing through her tears and punched me lightly on the arm. This kid, 1 second he makes you want to sob, the next second he makes you want to smack him. For Eggs was standing there completely lost. Why was everyone crying? You all got pastries. I got nothing. If anyone should be crying, it's me. He stared at the pastry box. Swallowed. Swallowed again. If not for his healthy fear of my fist, he would have lunged at those cakes like a wild animal. Third bro. Third bro. A little girl's voice came from outside the gate. For Eggs temporarily forgot about food. That's little Flower. But she's terrified of third bro. Why would she come here? I glared at him. Am I a wolf? A demon? What's there to be scared of? You used to be scarier than a demon, for Eggs muttered under his breath. Then his face snapped into emergency mode. Quick, hide the pastries. She definitely heard you bought sweets and came to steal some. He was dead serious. Dropped the sister, honorific, and everything. In the face of pastry theft, all family courtesy was suspended. I chuckled. This kid was protective of food the way dragons protect gold. Mom opened the gate. Little Flower poked her head in. Auntie, is third bro here? She was holding a tiny bag woven from green grass. Inside were mulberries, deep purple-black, freshly picked. I found these at the creek ravine. Everyone else picked them clean, but there were still some at the top of the tree. The branches were too thin for anyone heavy, but I'm small enough to climb up there. The ravine berries have been gone for days, for Eggs said suspiciously. This was his territory, and he knew the fruit inventory. Little Flower puffed up with pride. Being tiny and light was finally an advantage. I took a mulberry and popped it in my mouth. Sweet. Really sweet, actually. Her face lit up like sunshine. If you like them, I'll pick more tomorrow. My smile vanished. Little Flower, promise me you won't climb to the top of trees to pick berries anymore. Her face fell instantly. She'd gotten that pig trotter from me and wanted so badly to give something back. With the drought killing most wild fruits, those treetop berries were the only thing she could find. She'd risked her neck on thin branches for these. And now I looked unhappy. I rubbed her head gently. I love the berries. But I don't love berries that were picked by a little girl who could have fallen and broken her neck. She blinked a few times, processing, then nodded. Okay, third bro. I'll go home now. Wait. I pushed 4 eggs aside. He was using his body as a human shield in front of the bamboo basket, like a tiny Secret Service agent, and started digging through my stuff. For Egg's face crumbled. So we are giving away the pastries. He'd known Little Flower for years and always thought she was nice. Today she was revealed as nothing more than a cake predator. But I wasn't looking for pastries. During my shopping trip, I'd browsed the city jewelry shops and nearly had a heart attack. A single silver hairpin cost almost as much as an entire wild boar. The markup was criminal. So I bought accessories from the mall instead. A few dozen mall coins got me a whole bag of goodies. Fake sandalwood hairpins for 5 coins each, a matching horn comb set for 18, and a huge handful of hair flowers and ribbons for 10 coins total. In the 21st century, these would be, nice thought but kinda cheap, gifts. In a poverty-stricken mountain village, these were treasures. Little Flower was too young for hairpins, and a bracelet would feel too expensive. I picked out a pair of earrings instead, dangling style with a tiny star at the top and 5 delicate chains of different lengths hanging down. They looked like antique iron, but were actually titanium steel, so they wouldn't cause infections. I opened my palm and showed her. Little Flower stopped breathing. She'd never received a gift in her life. Not once. Not ever. Those earrings sparkled in the afternoon light. The little star. The flowing chains. She couldn't look away. I took her hand and placed them in her palm. Thank you for the berries. These are for you. She flinched and dropped them on the ground. Immediately she dove down, scooped them up, and frantically inspected them for damage. Safe. No scratches. She exhaled. Then she stared at them hungrily for 2 long seconds before something inside her clicked. She held them back out to me. Third bro, these are too precious. I can't. The longing in her eyes was heartbreaking. She wanted them so badly. But she'd been taught her whole life that girls like her didn't deserve nice things. They're not gold or silver. Worth a few copper coins at most. I put my hands behind my back. Not taking them. She looked down at the earrings again. She'd been to the county town once with her dad. She'd seen rich ladies wearing earrings. Earrings. Those were for city women. Not mountain village girls like her. Time to close the deal. Fine, if you don't want them, I'll give them to Arya instead. I want them. Instant response. Zero hesitation. Because Arya, third uncle's daughter, same age as Little Flower, was her sworn nemesis. They'd been competing over everything since birth. In Little Flower's personal universe, Arya was the final boss. The thought of Arya wearing her earrings activated something primal. She pulled the thorn sticks out of her earlobes, those little soap tree thorns that poor girls were to keep their ear piercings from closing, and carefully, reverently, put on the dangling earrings. She tilted her head left, right, left again, feeling the tiny chains sway and shimmer. Her smile could have lit up the entire mountain. Little Flower bounced home with a box of pastries I'd given her for the old house. Finally got 4 eggs to stop staring at me like a kicked puppy by giving him his own separate box. Mom, try this bracelet on. I pulled out a pair of imitation sandalwood bracelets. The mall had silver ones for cheap, but in this world silver was money. Wearing silver bracelets would be like strapping dollar bills to your wrists, way too flashy, and impossible to explain how a single wild boar paid for them. What are you wasting money on? I'm an old woman. What do I need bracelets for? Mom scolded me, but her eyebrows were doing a very different thing from her mouth. She'd already done the math. I'd handed over all that silver first, so this bracelet probably wasn't expensive. If I'd given her the bracelet before the money, she would have had a heart attack about the cost. She slid them on, raised her wrist, and spent the next 5 minutes rotating her arm back and forth admiring them from every possible angle. Nodding and smiling. Nodding and smiling. Big Sis was standing slightly behind everyone, trying very hard not to look envious. I held a hairpin in front of her face. It was a spring crabapple, retro sandalwood pin, sleek, flowing lines, tiny blooming flowers at the end with 2 dangling pearl beads. Completely unlike anything that existed in this world. Cost me 12 mall coins. Big Sis took it like she was sleepwalking. Stared at it. Her chest was warm, but her eyes started leaking again. You never cried when I was bullying you for years. Now I give you one gift, and you turn into a fountain, She grabbed me, buried her face in my shoulder, shook her head to wipe her tears on my shirt, then pulled back with the brightest smile. Little Yuan, I love this hairpin. I looked at the wet patch on my shoulder. Glad you like it. For the guys, gifts were simpler. For Eggs already had his pastry box. Kid was set. Second bro got a pair of new shoes. Dinner was the main event. Pork dumplings. I handled the filling myself. Nobody questioned my techniques anymore. Learned it from a book was now my universal excuse. In my previous life, I'd learned to cook from short videos because the path to a rich woman's heart goes through her stomach. My skills were legit. Picked out meat with a 30-70 fat to lean ratio. Trimmed the sinew. Minced it with scallion and ginger. Added salt, MSG, soy sauce, oyster sauce, pepper, a pinch of sugar. Cracked 2 eggs in. Stirred clockwise until the mixture was thick and sticky. Drizzled scallion oil. Folded in chopped green onions. The filling was perfect. Professional grade. I was extremely proud. Then came the dough. Third bro, how much water? For Eggs was my assistant. Pour half that ladle in, I said with full confidence. Third bro, I think it's too wet. No problem, add more flour. Third bro, now it's too dry. No worries. Pour another half ladle. This cycle repeated until we had used 4.5 pounds of flour out of our 5-pound supply, leaving barely a bowlful at the bottom. Mom watched this disaster unfold from across the room. Her heart was being squeezed like a sponge. Several times, she almost dove forward to tackle the flour jar away from me. But she remembered all the amazing things I'd done today and somehow, restrained herself. I looked at the enormous dough ball sitting on the counter. The thing was the size of a small child. I nodded with authority. Perfect. We'll make extra for Grandma's house too. Everyone who'd been quietly doubting my flour-to-water ratio instantly straightened up with respect. Of course he planned this. He meant to make that much dough. What a thoughtful, calculated young man. He definitely knows how to make dough. Definitely. The whole family assembled for wrapping duty. Dumplings materialized at impressive speed. I may have quietly supplemented the filling when nobody was watching because my perfect amount of meat was running suspiciously low against Mount Dough. Here for Eggs. Test 1, tell me if it's cooked. I fished a dumpling from the boiling pot and handed it to the kid who'd been glued to the stove watching the water like a nature documentary. He snatched it. Both cheeks bulged once, twice, gone. Swallowed whole like a python eating a rat. Wasn't that hot? Nope. Is it cooked through? No idea. I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. I fished out another one, put it in a bowl, and handed it over. He didn't even take the bowl. Just grabbed the dumpling barehanded straight out of the dish. Slow down. Check if it's cooked. He nodded earnestly. Bit off exactly half. Then the heat hit. H-A-H, it's cooked. It's cooked. H-A-H. He was fanning his open mouth with both hands, steam rising from the half-chewed dumpling visible between his teeth. Is anyone chasing you? Who's going to steal your food? He swallowed the second half, and his eyes locked back onto the pot like a targeting laser. Good, so good, violent nodding. How's the salt level? Huh? No idea. I gave up. I physically and spiritually surrendered any hope of using this child as a taste tester. He had exactly one setting. Inhale. I scooped out the rest with a strainer and loaded up the bowls. Tried one myself. Actually, wow. Maybe it was because the wheat flour here was totally organic. The soy sauce was genuinely brewed, and the pork had 0 additives. But these dumplings tasted better than anything I'd made in my previous life. Clean, pure, deeply savory. Mom, come taste my cooking. Mom hadn't stopped smiling all day, and she wasn't about to start now. She picked up a dumpling, bit into it, and her eyes went soft. This is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my life. With the love multiplier active, she would have said that about a boiled shoe. But these dumplings genuinely were incredible. Little Yuan's cooking is amazing, second bro said between bites, genuinely shocked. Big sis nodded in total agreement. She knew that even with the same ingredients, she couldn't have come close to this flavor. For Eggs casually reached for the last remaining bowl. Don't eat that. His face went through 5 stages of grief in 1 second. Why? I only had 2. I didn't even taste them properly. I don't even know what flavor they are. I bonked his head. Take those to Grandma's house. You can eat when you get back. For Eggs picked up the basin of dumplings and began the slowest walk in human history. 3 steps. Turn around longingly. 3 more steps. Turn around again. Like a prisoner on death row being marched to the gallows. Except the gallows were just the front gate, and the crime was being the youngest sibling. There's a mountain of dumplings still waiting to be boiled. What are you panicking about? Tonight you eat till you're full, I yelled after 4 eggs. Light returned to his eyes. His little legs started spinning like cartoon wheels, and he vanished before I could finish saying, "Don't eat any on the way." Gone. A dust cloud and the fading sound of tiny footsteps. We sat around the old wobbly table that creaked and groaned every time someone breathed too hard. The oil lamp flickered soft yellow light across everyone's faces. Little Yuan, are you really not going back to the academy? Mom put her chopsticks down. A few days ago she'd accepted that I wasn't scholar material and the family couldn't afford tuition anyway. But now, I'd changed so dramatically it was like a body swap, which, technically, it was, and there was actual silver in the house. Her old dream was waking up again. Dad had always believed this family would produce a scholar. Someone to bring glory to the Gu name. I opened my mouth to flatly refuse. Then I caught the flash of disappointment in her eyes. Couldn't do it. Let's talk about it after New Year. I feel like my previous studying was kind of scattered. I'll review at home first. Consolidate the fundamentals. Look at me using academic vocabulary to dodge going to school. Peak irony. Mom's face lit right back up. She picked up a dumpling and dropped it in my bowl. Good, good. Eat more. You've gotten so thin lately. I looked at Big Sis. Skinny. Second bro, skinny. Then I looked at myself. The tallest and most well-fed person at this table by far. Where exactly was I thin? Big Sis burst out laughing. Second bro had his cheeks stuffed like a chipmunk and was just powering through dumplings with single-minded focus. Not exaggerating. This was the best meal of his entire life. Second best was the braised pork. Third was the wild vegetable fried egg. The boy had a running top 3, and all 3 entries were from the last 48 hours. Meanwhile, at the old house, things were getting spicy. For eggs had sprinted in, slammed the basin of dumplings on the table, gasped out, "Grandpas are from third bro," in one breath, and bolted back, without even collecting the basin. 37 white flour pork dumplings sat in the center of the table. 14 people were crammed around it. White flour dumplings. Big sister Dia, second uncle's eldest daughter who'd married out, but was visiting today, looked like her eyeballs were going to pop out of her skull. She'd grown up in this house for 17 years and never tasted white flour dumplings. Her husband's family was even poorer. Their vegetable soup was so thin you could see your own reflection. Smells incredible. Little fourth pillar had his eyes half closed, sniffing the air like a truffle pig. Wipe your drool, second pillar shoved him. Very judgmental for a guy who was also visibly swallowing every 3 seconds. Fourth pillar didn't even turn his head, just wiped his chin with his sleeve and kept staring at the dumplings like they contained the meaning of life. Arya, third uncle's daughter, Little Flower's arch-nemesis, was a woman of action. Her hand shot out, snatched a dumpling, and she was already pivoting to escape. Problem: 14 people jammed together. No exit route. No gap to squeeze through. Plan B. She raised the dumpling toward her mouth. Grandma had been briefly stunned by the arrival of white flour pork dumplings, but her reflexes were still elite. She smacked Arya's hand, intercepted the now-mangled dumpling, and erupted. "You greedy little pig. Zero manners. Acting like a starving ghost. Did this family not feed you? We just had dinner." She knocked several knuckle raps on Arya's forehead for good measure. Arya rubbed her head. The beating didn't bother her at all. She was only sad about the dumpling. In retrospect, she should have gone straight to mouth. Skip the escape plan entirely. Just shove and chew. Grandma couldn't have reacted fast enough. She was already planning her next attempt. Little Flower was internally gleeful. Arya trying to steal food under Grandma's nose? Amateur hour. Little Three-Nyo, 5 years old, barely taller than the table, pointed a chubby finger at the basin. "Grandma, I want that. I want that." Grandma's storm clouds parted instantly. Pure sunshine. She picked up a dumpling with a loving smile and fed it to his mouth. "Here, Three-Nyo darling. Eat slowly. There's more for you." Little Flower and Dayo exchanged a look. Here we go again, look. Arya rolled her eyes. Same story. Every time. Grandma loved boys. Boys got everything. Girls were money-losing goods who wasted food by existing. Grandma picked up another dumpling and offered it to Huanyang, Big Pillar's pregnant wife. Huanyang, Have one too. Huanyang saw that literally nobody else had touched their chopsticks yet. Grandma, I just had porridge. I'm not hungry. You might not be hungry, but my great-grandson in your belly is. Take it. The great-grandson who might also be a great-granddaughter. But Grandma had already decided the outcome through sheer willpower. Huanyang accepted the dumpling with both hands, blushing under 14 pairs of staring eyes. She bit into it, and her eyes glowed. Rich, savory pork filling exploded across her taste buds. So good her eyes squinted shut with pleasure. Fourth pillar watched her chew. His own jaw was moving in SYNC with hers. Phantom eating. The saddest form of dining. Second wife, go get some bowls before these dumplings stick together. Second aunt brought out bowls and Grandma transferred the dumplings one by one, counting as she went. 37 dumplings. She ran the calculations in her head. The algorithm. Big pillar, second pillar, fourth pillar, and 3 nyo, 3 each. Huanyang is carrying a baby, so 3 for her too. Third aunt's eye twitched. She wanted to protest, but second household couple and third household couple, 3 each. Pause. Mental arithmetic. That leaves 10. 7 for Grandpa and me. The 3 girls get 1 each. Little Flower's eyes lit up. She got 1. Honestly, she'd expected 0, so this was a win. Dia pressed her lips together. Silent. Arya was not silent. Fourth pillar and 3 nyo are younger than me. Why do they get 3 and I only get 1? Little Flower, who agreed with every word but would have never dared say it out loud, felt a grudging flash of respect for her nemesis. Why indeed? That was the question she'd been swallowing her entire life. The room went dead silent. Everyone knew the answer. Everyone lived by the answer. Boys were worth more than girls. That was just how the world worked. Nobody thought it was wrong. Grandma's face darkened like a thundercloud rolling in.